This coin almost ended up in the trash, but it turned out to be worth over $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple 2007 Canadian 1-cent coin, something millions of people once ignored or tossed aside, is now one of the most shocking discoveries in the world of numismatics. It started like an ordinary story. A collector in Ontario was sorting through loose change one evening, stacking the dull brown pennies that most people wouldn't look at twice. But one of them looked different. The shine was off. The color seemed strange. And when he turned it in the light, something clicked. The year was 2007, but the coin itself didn't seem right at all. Collectors have since learned that this tiny coin carries one of the most mysterious minting stories in Canadian history. The Royal Canadian Mint was preparing to phase out the penny, and during that process, a few experimental strikes were made using older metal blanks, mixed with the new, lighter-plated steel planchets. Somewhere in that chaotic switch, a few 2007 coins were struck on the wrong metal, or with slightly off-center dies. These rare minting errors are what make this coin so valuable, and so fascinating. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When one of these 2007 pennies appeared at an auction in Toronto, experts couldn't believe what they were seeing. It was a near-perfect strike, but with a composition error that shouldn't exist. The coin weighed more than it should have, and it showed microscopic doubling on the Queen's portrait. The starting bid was just $100. But as word spread among collectors and dealers, the bids climbed $5,000, $20,000, $50,000, until finally, one anonymous collector placed a jaw-dropping final offer. That single 2007 Canadian penny sold for $1.1 million. The audience gasped. The news spread like wildfire. A coin that most people would have spent on a stick of gum had just changed someone's life. But that wasn't the only one. A few others surfaced in later years, coins showing light die clashes, off-center strikes, and even one rumored to have been struck on an older 2006 bronze planchet. Each time, collectors swarmed the market, desperate to find another one in circulation. And here's where things get even more mysterious. Experts believe that several of these era coins may still be out there, hidden in old jars, tucked away in dresser drawers, or even lying at the bottom of a dusty piggy bank. Because Canada officially stopped minting pennies in 2012, millions were removed from circulation and melted down, but a few slipped through the cracks. Imagine, you pick up a coin from your change, and it's not just any penny. It's a piece of history. Dealers are rushing to examine every 2007 penny they can find. Some show a slightly darker tone due to the older copper plating. Others reveal a strange magnetic reaction, because certain versions were made on steel instead of copper. And then there are those with minor doubling on the date. 2007. Or on the Queen's eye. Tiny details that most people miss. But that could mean the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. Collectors were shocked when they realized how many variations exist. Some were struck at the Winnipeg Mint, others at the Ottawa facility. Certain dies were repolished mid-production, leaving faint traces or ghost-like outlines. These imperfections, invisible to the untrained eye, are what transform a common penny into a fortune. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. He wasn't a professional collector. He didn't even use a magnifying glass. He just noticed something unusual, a slightly raised rim, a different sound when dropped on a table. That tiny difference led him to a professional appraiser, and the rest is history. But what's even more fascinating is how this coin reveals the hidden beauty of minting errors. Sometimes it's not a flaw, it's a fingerprint. A unique mark left behind by the machinery, by time, or by human oversight. For the 2007 Canadian penny, that fingerprint tells a story of transition, from copper to steel, from value to extinction. It's a coin that bridges two eras, and that's why collectors can't stop talking about it. But before you rush to your coin jar, here's how to tell if your 2007 penny could be one of these ultra-rare treasures. First, check the weight. A normal 2007 Canadian penny should weigh about 2.35 grams. But the rare era coins, the ones worth serious money, often weigh closer to 2.8 grams, because they were struck on older bronze blanks. That's your first clue. Second, look closely at the Queen's portrait. Use a magnifying glass and check around the lips and the eyes. Some rare 2007 varieties show doubling, meaning a faint second outline appears due to a misaligned die. That subtle detail can skyrocket a coin's value. Third, examine the edges. Some of these $1,000,000 coins show slightly reeded or irregular rims, a result of being struck between mismatched dies. If your coin has a rim that feels uneven or thicker on one side, don't ignore it. And finally, listen to it. Drop it gently on a wooden surface. The copper coins make a soft, dull ring. The rare bronze or error strikes often produce a sharper, longer tone, like a bell's echo trapped in metal. These are the clues that could lead you to a life-changing discovery. But remember, most of these coins won't reveal their secrets easily. You have to look carefully and be patient. Because the thrill of coin collecting isn't just about finding treasure, it's about uncovering stories lost to time. Every scratch, every imperfection, every faded shine tells you something about where that coin has been. From the hands of a child buying candy in 2007 to a collector's glass case in 2025, it's a journey of history, luck, and fate. So tonight, when you go through your change, look closer. That ordinary-looking 2007 penny in your hand might not be ordinary at all. It might be the key to a story no one's told yet, and a future no one expected. Because yes, this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1,000,000. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but it turned out to be worth over $1,000,000. It's one of the most shocking discoveries in Canadian coin history. A 1980 Canada 1-cent coin that looks like any other brown penny you've ever seen. But behind that ordinary shine hides a mistake so rare, so unbelievable, that it turned a single cent into a $1.2 million treasure. Most collectors walked right past it for decades. Some spent it without ever realizing what they held. But one man, a retired mechanic from Ontario, did what no one else dared to do. He looked closer. When he found the coin in a small jar of old change, something about it didn't feel right. The color, the strike, the edge, it all seemed slightly off. And that curiosity would soon uncover one of the rarest errors ever seen on a Canadian cent, because this wasn't your regular 1980 penny. This was a coin born from a minting mistake, a transitional strike, pressed with the wrong metal composition just as Canada was preparing to change its penny alloy. In 1980, the Royal Canadian Mint was switching from a nearly pure copper planchet to one made from cheaper, lighter materials. But a few leftover copper blanks from the previous batch accidentally made their way into the presses. Those coins, struck with the new 1980 dies, became the ultimate rarity. Only a handful are believed to exist. And the one verified by experts sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. When it hit the auction block, collectors couldn't believe their eyes. The bidding started low, but within minutes, it climbed past $100,000, then $300,000, and then $500,000. By the time the gavel fell, the coin had shattered all expectations, selling for an astonishing $1.20 million. The answer lies in the metal itself. Most 1980 Canadian cents were struck in bronze, a mix of copper, tin, and zinc. But this particular coin wasn't. Its metal composition, confirmed through testing, revealed nearly 98% copper, the same as coins made years earlier. This error shouldn't exist. But it does, and that's what makes it priceless. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were rushing to check their own inventories. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know, could they have one too? These rare coins don't look dramatically different. They don't shine like gold. They don't sparkle like diamonds. They hide in plain sight. You could have one in a coffee can, a coin jar, or even tucked inside a drawer, and never know. Experts discovered that not all the rare 1980 cents came from the same die. A few have faint die cracks running across the zero in the date, while others have slightly doubled lettering in Elizabeth II. That's a sign of early die fatigue, another indicator that these coins were struck under unusual conditions. One collector described finding his as a heart-stopping moment. He said he'd been searching through rolls of pennies for months when he spotted one that felt heavier than the rest. When weighed, it came in at 3.24 grams, heavier than the standard 2.8 grams of later alloy coins. That's how he knew he had something extraordinary. After the $1.2 million sale, reports started pouring in. People from across Canada and even the US began checking their change. Pawn shops, antique stores, and flea markets became hunting grounds overnight. A wave of treasure hunters had been born, all looking for that 1 in a million coin. And while most found only ordinary 1980 cents, a few discovered variants that sold for thousands. Even imperfect examples, scratched or worn, were fetching life-changing sums. So, how can you tell if your 1980 Canadian penny could be the next $1 million miracle? Start with the weight. Use a precise digital scale. If it's heavier than 3.10 grams, that's your first sign. Then, check the color. Genuine copper coins tend to have a deep reddish tone that doesn't fade easily. Finally, look at the details. On the obverse, Queen Elizabeth's portrait should have crisp lines, and the rim may appear slightly thicker due to the older blank it was struck on. If all these signs line up, you might just be holding one of the rarest coins in North American history. But there's one more clue, one that almost everyone overlooks. On some of the rarest examples, the reverse maple leaves appear subtly sharper, almost as if they were etched with more force. That's because the harder copper planchet required greater pressure during striking, leaving deeper impressions. That small detail, barely visible to the naked eye, could be the difference between a 1-cent coin and a fortune. Stories like these remind us that history is still hiding in our pockets. Every time you reach for your spare change, you could be holding a piece of forgotten Canadian minting history, one that collectors would pay a fortune to own. The mechanic who found his coin said he almost spent it at a gas station before deciding to double-check. That single moment of curiosity changed his life forever. So before you toss your old coins aside, take a second look. Weigh them. Study them. Because the next record-breaking discovery could be yours. Collectors still whisper about this coin, the 1980 Canada 1 cent that sold for $1.2 million. They call it the ghost penny, because for years, it was hidden in plain sight, haunting drawers, jars, and wallets, waiting for someone to notice. And maybe, just maybe, the next one is already sitting in yours. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but it turned out to be worth over $1.3 million. A simple brown penny, the 1974 Canada 1 cent coin, a coin so common, so ordinary, that millions of people tossed it aside without a second thought. But hidden among them was something no one expected. It began quietly, deep inside the Royal Canadian Mint in the early 1970s, a time when Canada was preparing for change. Copper prices were soaring, and the government was experimenting with cheaper materials for coinage. Most of the 1974 Canadian 1 cent coins were struck from traditional bronze, 98% copper, 0.5% tin, 1.5% zinc. But rumors began to circulate among collectors that a few experimental strikes had been made on aluminum planchets. Lighter, silvery, almost ghostly in color, only a handful were ever produced, perhaps just a few dozen, and nearly all were supposed to be destroyed. But one coin, one single piece, somehow escaped. No one knows exactly how it got out. Some say it was accidentally handed to a mint employee. Others whisper that it was placed in a roll of regular pennies and released into circulation. But whatever happened that day changed numismatic history forever. Years later, a Canadian collector stumbled upon a coin that didn't feel right. It was light, almost too light. The color was wrong. And when he placed it on a scale, his hands began to tremble. It wasn't the usual 3.24 grams of copper. It was barely over 1 gram, a sign of pure aluminum. Words spread fast. Coin dealers were stunned. Could this really be the legendary 1974 aluminum Canadian penny? The same coin that the Royal Canadian Mint had ordered destroyed? Experts were called in. Under magnification, they confirmed the truth. This was no replica. It was an authentic 1974 1-cent coin struck in aluminum, a piece that was never meant to exist. The Royal Canadian Mint demanded the coin's return, claiming it was their property, never authorized for public ownership. Lawsuits, negotiations, and secrecy followed. The owner, fearing the loss of his million-dollar treasure, kept it hidden for years. And as the mystery deepened, collectors' hunger for the story grew. Similar to the famous 1974 aluminum U.S. Lincoln cent, which caused chaos in America, this Canadian version became the Northern legend, a forbidden treasure that blurred the line between government authority and collector passion. Auction houses whispered of offers reaching over $1 million, even though the coin could never be legally sold. But that didn't stop collectors from dreaming. And that's where things get truly fascinating. In recent years, several collectors have claimed to find strange-looking 1974 Canadian pennies, lighter in color, thinner, or struck slightly off-center. Many turned out to be normal copper coins damaged by time or chemicals. But a few have shown hints of being struck on foreign planchets, blanks meant for other countries' coins, used accidentally in the minting process. And those errors alone can make a simple penny worth thousands, even tens of thousands. Imagine holding a coin so light it feels like a feather, its surface glimmering faintly under the light, its edges sharper than usual. To most people, it's nothing. But to the right collector, it's a once-in-a-lifetime miracle. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any high-grade 1974 Canadian pennies, especially those with unusual luster or low weight. Even flawless copper examples, coins graded red by PCGS or NGC, can bring in hundreds of dollars. But the aluminum strikes. They are the holy grail. The ghost coins. One former mint worker claimed he saw several being melted down in 1975, right before the new planchets arrived. But he also admitted that a few may have slipped away. That's all it took to ignite decades of speculation and obsession. Because if even one more aluminum 1974 Canadian penny still exists, it could instantly be worth $1 million or more. And it might not be in a museum or a collector's vault. It could be in someone's jar of old change, forgotten for half a century. Here's what to look for. First, check the date, 1974. No letter beside the date, no D, no P, just the simple number. Next, the color, a pale silver or a light gray tone, not the usual reddish copper. Then the weight, use a precise digital scale. A regular copper penny weighs about 3.24 grams. But if yours weighs around 1.0 gram, you may have stumbled upon history. Listen to the sound it makes when dropped gently on a table. Aluminum coins produce a soft, flat click, not the high-pitched ring of copper. That's another clue collectors swear by. Be careful, though. Many fakes have surfaced, coins plated in silver or chemically stripped to look aluminum. True mint errors will show even, professional striking and correct die details, with no signs of tampering, and if you think you've found one, do not clean it. Ever. Cleaning can erase microscopic details that prove authenticity, and instantly destroy thousands, even millions, in potential value. Instead, protect it. Place it in a soft holder, keep it dry, and contact a certified grading service like PCGS or NGC for professional evaluation. If confirmed, you might just become the next name whispered among collectors, the one who found the lost treasure of the Royal Canadian Mint. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle once before. And history has a way of repeating itself. So tonight, before you toss your coins into a drawer, take one last look at that 1974 Canadian penny. Turn it in your hand. Feel its weight. Notice its shine. Because what looks like a simple cent might be a forgotten piece of Canadian history, a tiny, priceless secret hiding in plain sight. And who knows, the next 1974 Canadian penny worth over $1.3 million could be sitting in your pocket right now. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but it sold for nearly $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A tiny copper coin from Canada, dated 2007, has stunned collectors across North America. What looked like an ordinary penny, something most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up, turned out to be worth up to $1.4 million. The story of the 2007 Canadian 1-cent coin isn't just another coin tale, it's a story of luck, mystery, and a minting error so rare that even experts were caught off guard. And the craziest part? You might have one sitting in your change jar right now. It all began when a handful of collectors noticed something strange about a few 2007 Canada pennies. Under normal light, they looked completely ordinary, the familiar maple leaf design on one side, Queen Elizabeth II's portrait on the other. But under close inspection, these coins revealed secrets that no one was supposed to see. One collector in Ontario noticed that his 2007 penny looked slightly different from others. The color, the shine, even the texture. When he placed it beside another coin from the same year, something didn't add up. The font of the date was off. The edges appeared doubled. And when magnified under a jeweler's loupe, the tiniest but most crucial clue appeared, a doubling on the digits. 2007. At first, he thought it was nothing, maybe a trick of the light or simple wear. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. He sent the coin to be authenticated, and experts confirmed it. This wasn't just any penny. It was a rare double die error, one of the sharpest and most dramatic ever recorded for a Canadian coin. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were suddenly scouring their inventories. And whispers began spreading in the coin community. Could this be the next $1 million penny? Not every 2007 penny is valuable. Only a select few struck with an ultra-rare minting anomaly. Some were made on the wrong metal planchet, struck with older steel blanks instead of copper-plated zinc. Others displayed dramatic doubling on both sides, especially visible around the Queen's crown or the maple leaf veins. These tiny imperfections, invisible to the untrained eye, are what separate a 1-cent coin from a $1 million treasure. And then came the auction that shocked everyone. In late 2022, one pristine 2007 Canada penny, verified by PCGS as a unique mint error, crossed the block. Bidding started low, at just a few $100s. But within minutes, the price skyrocketed. Collectors from the US, Canada, and even overseas battled fiercely for it. When the hammer finally dropped, the coin had sold for an unbelievable $1.4 million. The numismatic world was in disbelief. A modern penny, barely 2 decades old, had just joined the ranks of legendary coins, the kind that make headlines, that turn ordinary people into millionaires overnight. But what makes this story so incredible is how easy it is to overlook a coin like this. Thousands of people have handled the 2007 Canadian penny without realizing what they were holding. They've spent it on coffee, dropped it in parking meters, or tossed it into piggy banks, completely unaware that it could have changed their lives forever. The reason it's so valuable comes down to one simple word: rarity. Out of millions of 2007 pennies minted, only a handful show the telltale signs of the error: doubling in the date, a misaligned die strike, or an unusual metal composition. Experts believe only a few dozen exist, and most have never been found. One collector described his discovery like finding buried treasure. He said, "It looked like every other coin. I almost didn't check it. But something about the shine caught my eye." That moment of curiosity turned into the biggest payday of his life. And here's the thing, it could happen to anyone. Every coin you touch, every penny that crosses your hands, could be the one that changes everything. But only if you know what to look for. So how can you spot the 2007 Canadian penny worth up to $1.4 million? Start by examining the date. Use a magnifying glass and look closely at the numbers. 2007. If you see any doubling, 2 outlines, a shadowy blur, or thickened digits, that's a major clue. Next, inspect the Queen's profile. If her crown or the lettering around her portrait appears doubled or unusually thick, your coin could be one of the ultra-rare error strikes. Another important detail is the color and weight. Some of these valuable 2007 pennies were struck on planchets intended for other years, meaning they can be slightly lighter or darker than a normal coin. If your penny looks unusually shiny, magnetic, or even slightly off in tone, it's worth testing. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on verified examples, and collectors across North America are now checking their change with renewed excitement. The Canadian Mint has never confirmed exactly how many of these rare 2007 errors slipped out, and that mystery only adds to their allure. But what happened after the $1.4 million sale is what truly cemented this coin's legend. Once the news broke, social media exploded. Treasure hunters, families, even casual hobbyists started digging through old jars and coffee cans, hoping lightning might strike twice. Pawn shops and coin dealers reported a surge of people bringing in 2007 pennies, most ordinary, but a few suspiciously close. Experts say that a single discovery like this can reignite an entire generation's fascination with coins. It reminds us that history, luck, and fortune can fit right in the palm of your hand. Think about it. How many times have you walked past a penny on the ground and ignored it? How many have you tossed away, thinking it's worthless? Somewhere, right now, another person might be holding a 2007 Canadian penny without realizing that it's worth more than a brand new car, more than a house, more than they could ever imagine. Collectors are calling it one of the greatest modern coin discoveries of the 21st century, a perfect blend of mystery, rarity, and fate. And it's not just about the money, it's about the thrill of the hunt, the magic of discovery, and the dream that one small coin could rewrite your story. So tonight, go check your change jar. Look through those old rolls of pennies sitting forgotten in drawers. Because among those ordinary brown coins, there might be one with double digits, a hidden error, and a destiny worth over $1 million. Don't underestimate the power of what looks ordinary. Every coin has a story, and sometimes, that story can make you a millionaire. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a grocery store cash register, but instead, it stunned the entire numismatic world, selling for nearly $1.5 million. It's the 1982 Canada 1-cent coin. A simple penny, smaller than a button, but holding a secret that turned pocket change into pure gold. Collectors call it one of the greatest modern-day mysteries in North American coin history. A coin that should have been ordinary, but wasn't. In 1982, the Royal Canadian Mint made a massive change. For decades, Canadian pennies were struck from bronze, a blend of copper, tin, and zinc. But that year, something historic happened. To cut costs, the mint switched to a cheaper metal composition, copper-plated zinc. Most people didn't notice. The new pennies looked the same. But deep inside, everything had changed. However, not all pennies followed the rule. Somewhere during that transition, a small batch of the old bronze blanks, left behind from the previous year, somehow made their way into production. They were struck with 1982 dies, creating a hybrid coin never meant to exist. At first, no one cared. No one even realized. These coins slipped into circulation like ghosts, invisible, unremarkable, easily mistaken for any other cent. But decades later, collectors began to notice something strange. A few 1982 Canadian pennies weighed slightly more than the rest. Instead of 2.5 grams, they were 3.24 grams, exactly the weight of the pre-1982 bronze composition. Word spread fast. Dealers were shocked. Forums exploded. People began pulling out jars, boxes, drawers full of old Canadian cents, looking for the one detail that could make them millionaires. One collector in Ontario reportedly found one of these heavy 1982 bronze cents mixed in a batch of ordinary coins. He sent it for certification, and experts were stunned. It was authentic. A genuine bronze transitional error. Only a handful are believed to exist. And when that coin hit the auction block, the bidding war was instant and furious. It ended at nearly $1.50 million. Yes, a single Canadian penny. Worth more than a Ferrari, more than a house, more than most people's lifetime savings. You see, the difference between a normal 1982 Canada penny and the $1 million version lies in the metal itself. It's invisible to the eye, unless you know what to look for. Most 1982 pennies are the lighter zinc-plated kind, weighing just 2.5 grams. The rare bronze ones? They're heavier, about 3.24 grams, and they produce a distinct, higher-pitched ring when dropped on a hard surface. But there's another clue. The color of the bronze cents often appears deeper, richer, more reddish than the newer ones. To an untrained eye, it's subtle. But to collectors, it's like seeing gold glimmer through copper. And yet, there's another layer to this mystery. Some experts believe that a few bronze blanks were struck at the Ottawa Mint by mistake, while others suspect they were experimental strikes or test runs that accidentally slipped into public hands. Whatever the truth is, the Royal Canadian Mint has never officially confirmed how many exist, or even admitted the error publicly. Every year, treasure hunters across the US and Canada continue searching through rolls, yard sales, and dusty old jars, hoping to find that one coin that shouldn't exist. Dealers whisper about rumors of undiscovered examples still out there. A few even claim they've seen them, ungraded, raw, hiding in plain sight among common coins. During 1982, the Royal Canadian Mint actually produced two varieties, the small date and large date versions. Both can be found in bronze or zinc. But the rare, valuable ones are the bronze planchet strikes, regardless of date style. So if you've got a 1982 penny, check that weight first. Collectors recommend using a precision digital scale that measures to 2 decimal points. If your coin weighs around 3.24 grams, don't spend it. Don't even clean it. That small difference could mean the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. Somewhere, right now, sitting in a drawer or a forgotten coffee can, is another one of these 1982 bronze cents. Maybe someone tossed it aside decades ago. Maybe a child collected it and never knew its value. Maybe it's sitting in a change jar in your own kitchen, quietly waiting to change your life. But the story doesn't stop there. The discovery of the 1982 bronze cent sent shockwaves through the coin market. It reignited interest in transitional errors, coins struck during the switch from one metal composition to another. Similar discoveries in U.S. coins, like the 1983 copper Lincoln cent, prove just how unpredictable minting transitions can be. And for Canadian collectors, the 1982 penny became the ultimate symbol of hidden fortune. It reminded everyone that the rarest treasures aren't locked away in museums. They're still out there, mixed with the ordinary, waiting to be found. Dealers say that when the Ontario coin sold for nearly $1.5 million, it inspired a new generation of searchers. Coin clubs saw membership spikes. Pawn shops started weighing every Canadian cent that came through the door. Even seasoned collectors admitted they'd never looked closely enough at their 1982 pennies before. But here's where things get even more mysterious. Some numismatists believe that a small number of bronze 1982 pennies may have been struck at multiple mints, meaning there could be several variations still undiscovered. A few even suggest that certain proof-like examples may exist, struck on experimental planchets meant for presentation sets. If one of those surfaces, it could shatter every auction record in existence. Can you imagine holding a coin so rare, so valuable, that experts can't even agree how it came to be? That's the allure of the 1982 Canadian penny. And here's what makes this story so powerful. It's not just about metal or money. It's about the thrill of discovery. The idea that something so small, so overlooked, could hold the key to a life-changing fortune. That's why collectors love coins. Everyone tells a story. Everyone hides a mystery. So before you dismiss that jar of old pennies, take one more look. Because among them could be a 1982 Canada 1-cent piece that defied history, slipped through the cracks, and now commands a price most people can only dream of. Weigh it. Inspect the color. Listen to its ring. Look for that deeper tone, that heavier feel. Because that could be the clue that turns your pocket change into a treasure worth over $1 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Yet today, it's worth up to $1.6 million. That's right, a simple 1984 Canada 1-cent coin, the kind you might have tossed into a jar decades ago, has turned into one of the most shocking discoveries in coin history. It began, like most unbelievable stories, with a mistake. In 1984, the Royal Canadian Mint produced millions of 1-cent coins featuring the familiar maple leaf design, ordinary copper-plated beauties that jingled through pockets all across North America. But hidden among them were a handful of mysterious errors. Imperfections so subtle that almost no one noticed for decades. One coin collector, years later, stumbled upon a 1984 penny that didn't quite look right. The color was slightly off. The engraving on Queen Elizabeth's portrait looked sharper, almost different, as if struck with an entirely different die. When he brought it to a local coin shop, the dealer's face went pale. He immediately knew this wasn't an ordinary penny. What that collector had found was a die variety, a coin minted using a die intended for another year. The portrait on that coin matched the 1985 version, not the 1984. It was a crossover error so rare, experts believed only a handful were ever made. And when one finally appeared at auction, collectors went wild. Bidding started modestly, but within minutes, prices skyrocketed. 10,000, 50,000, then hundreds of thousands of dollars. Collectors around the world realized what this was: a once-in-a-lifetime minting mistake, a tangible piece of Canadian history. By the time the gavel fell, that small copper coin had shattered records, selling for over $1.6 million. But what makes this tiny coin so special? Why would a 1-cent piece command the price of a luxury home? It all comes down to precision, or, in this case, the lack of it. The 1984 penny features Queen Elizabeth II's portrait with a more delicate, mature profile. But a rare few were accidentally struck with the younger portrait die used in 1985. The difference? The spacing in the lettering, the hair detail, and the shape of the crown. If you don't know what to look for, you'd miss it completely. Collectors call this the double die portrait, or transitional error. And these errors are the holy grail of penny collectors. Dealers have described holding one of these coins as touching lightning in a bottle. Even major grading companies like PCGS and NGC have authenticated these ultra-rare finds, with values continuing to climb every single year. But here's where things get even more unbelievable. Most of these coins are still out there, sitting in change jars, drawers, or tucked away in forgotten collections. People across Canada and even the US have no idea they might be holding a fortune in their hands. Because during the 1980s, Canadian pennies circulated heavily across the border. So yes, even if you live in the United States, one of these coins could be hiding in your home right now. And just when you think this story couldn't get any stranger, another collector stepped forward claiming he found a similar 1984 coin at a flea market, for just 50 cents. It was scratched, dull, and dirty. But after a quick clean and a magnified look, the truth emerged. It had the wrong portrait die. He sent it off for grading, and a few months later, his 50-cent flea market find was valued at over $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word of this discovery spread fast, and suddenly, collectors everywhere were digging through their jars of old Canadian change. Dealers were flooded with calls, emails, and pictures from people desperate to know if they had the one. Even seasoned numismatists were shocked to learn how elusive and valuable these 1984 varieties had become. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about history, mystery, and the thrill of discovery. One small mistake by a mint worker had created a treasure hunt spanning decades. So, how do you know if you've got the $1 million version of this coin? Start with the basics. Look at the obverse, the Queen's portrait. On the rare variety, her portrait appears more detailed, especially around the hair and crown. The legend around the edge, Elizabeth II DG Regina, will appear slightly bolder. Compare it with a known 1985 penny portrait, and if they match, your 1984 coin could be a transitional error. Next, check the rim and the lettering under magnification. Any doubling, distortion, or unusual sharpness in the details could mean you're holding something extraordinary. Finally, weigh it. Some versions have slight variances in weight due to copper plating inconsistencies that further confirm the minting error. Collectors are still debating how many of these were actually struck. Some experts believe fewer than 10 genuine pieces exist. Others say even fewer. Maybe just 3 or 4 have survived in collector-worthy condition. Imagine that for a second. Out of millions of pennies minted in 1984, only a few may hold the secret that turns them into treasures worth more than $1.6 million. And that's what makes this story so powerful. It reminds us that even the smallest, most ordinary things can hold unimaginable value. A penny that most people overlooked, dismissed, or threw away became a life-changing discovery for those lucky enough to recognize it. So tonight, When you empty your pockets, take a second look at every coin that falls into your palm. Turn it over, check the year, and examine the details. Because one small copper coin, one you might have ignored, could hold a secret worth $1 million. Collectors are still searching, dealers are still whispering, and every day, another person wonders if their old penny might be the one. Could it be you? Maybe. Because the 1984 Canada 1-cent coin worth $1.6 million is proof of one thing: miracles still hide in plain sight. And this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, a simple, copper-colored penny from 2005, tossed aside, ignored, forgotten. But one collector's curiosity changed everything. Because when he looked closer, under a magnifying glass, he realized he was holding something worth over $1.7 million. It's one of the most shocking discoveries in modern coin history. A coin so ordinary, yet hiding one of the rarest minting mysteries ever produced by the Royal Canadian Mint. Collectors are calling it the $1 million maple, a 1-cent piece that redefined what's possible in pocket change. And the truth behind this coin is stranger than fiction. In 2005, Canada was phasing out the use of certain copper planchets. Tiny blank discs used to strike pennies. But in a bizarre twist of fate, a handful of leftover blanks from previous years slipped through the system. The result? A 2005 penny struck on the wrong metal. A rare transitional error, and only a few are known to exist. One of them surfaced in a small estate sale box, mixed with common coins. No one noticed it, except for a sharp-eyed collector who saw a faint red hue, a different weight, and a slightly off metallic sound when dropped. He paid a few cents for it, and later sold it for over $1.7 million. But what makes this little copper coin so valuable? It's not just rarity, it's perfection born from mistake. The coin was struck using a 98% copper planchet, even though by 2005, the mint had fully switched to a steel core coated with copper plating. This meant the coin was heavier, more resonant, and visually distinct from every other penny in circulation. Dealers were stunned. Collectors flooded online forums, desperate to know how this could happen. How could a modern Canadian penny, a coin most people ignored, suddenly be worth a fortune? But the evidence was undeniable, a verified transitional error, authenticated and graded in near-perfect condition. And here's the part that blew everyone's mind: experts believe there may be more of them out there, coins still sitting unnoticed in jars, drawers, and old piggy banks, the kind of treasure hiding in plain sight. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When the story broke, collectors began weighing their pennies. One by one, they started checking for that subtle difference. A heavier 2005 coin made of copper instead of steel. The media called it the Great Canadian Penny Hunt. People who had never collected coins before suddenly became treasure hunters overnight. And for good reason. Because a single correct find could instantly change someone's life. Imagine it: pulling out an old handful of change from a forgotten drawer and realizing one of those coins could pay off your mortgage, buy your dream home, or secure your future forever. But what truly sets the 2005 Canada 1-cent era apart isn't just its metal composition, it's the details most people overlook. Look at the maple leaves on the reverse. If your coin shows a slightly sharper edge, a deeper strike, or a slightly reddish tone under the light, don't ignore it. That's your first clue. Now flip it over. Focus on Queen Elizabeth II's portrait. In the ultra-rare $1 million version, you'll often see a subtle doubling effect on the Queen's crown or around the lettering of Elizabeth II. This doubling, caused by a tiny shift in the die, is what makes the coin even more desirable to collectors. One expert said, "It's the kind of error you find once in a generation, and most people would never notice unless they knew exactly what to look for." Some 2005 Canadian pennies show a hidden anomaly. The maple leaf veins are thicker on one side than the other. It's a tiny minting irregularity that further distinguishes the ultra-rare batch from standard ones. And when all three clues align, the heavier weight, the doubling, and the maple vein difference, you're staring at a potential fortune. Dealers in both Canada and the United States have confirmed private offers exceeding $1 million for verified examples in mint condition. Auction houses have reported bidding wars. collectors refusing to back down, driving the price beyond what anyone thought possible for a 1-cent coin. But here's the most incredible part. Experts still don't know how many of these coins exist. Some believe fewer than 10. Others say there could be a dozen or more still lost in circulation, mixed among millions of common 2005 pennies. That mystery, that uncertainty, fuels the hunt even more. Every time someone checks their change in Canada or the US, they wonder, could this be it? And here's where it gets fascinating for American collectors. Because Canadian coins often cross borders, especially pennies. They circulate quietly in the US too. You might already have a Canadian penny sitting in a jar, maybe from a vacation, a road trip, or a handful of change from a store clerk who didn't even notice. That could be your life-changing coin. One man in Michigan found his, and didn't even realize what he had for 2 years. He kept it as a cool-looking Canadian penny, until a collector friend noticed the weight difference. When it was authenticated, it sold privately for just under $1.70 million, he said later. I thought it was just another penny. Turns out it was my miracle. But here's the part you can't afford to ignore. These coins don't look dramatically different at first glance. That's what makes them so deceptive. The key is precision. Weigh your 2005 Canadian pennies. A normal one weighs about 2.35 grams. If yours weighs closer to 3.1 grams, you may have the copper transitional error. Then, under bright light, inspect the Queen's crown and lettering for doubling or ghosting. Finally, check the maple leaves for the thickened vein pattern. If all 3 signs match, do not clean or polish it. That can destroy the value instantly. Instead, place it in a protective sleeve and contact a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Because that small, forgotten coin could be your ticket to history and a fortune. Collectors who once overlooked Canadian pennies are now searching every jar, every drawer, every old coin roll they can find. Because the next person to uncover one of these rare 2005 1-cent errors could find themselves holding over $1 million in their hand. So tonight, go check your change. That dull copper coin at the bottom of your jar might just be the key to a life you never imagined possible. Because the 2005 Canada 1 cent, the humble penny, isn't just a piece of metal. It's a symbol of luck, mystery, and the hidden fortunes that surround us every single day. And who knows? But instead, it turned into one of the most shocking discoveries in Canadian coin history. A single 2006 Canada 1 cent coin that stunned collectors when it was revealed to be worth up to $1.80 million. It's tiny. It's copper-plated steel. And it's the coin most people never look at twice. But what hides beneath its ordinary surface has left experts speechless. Because this humble penny carries one of the rarest minting mysteries ever uncovered. The story begins in 2006, a year most people never thought twice about Canadian pennies. Millions were minted, small, red, and familiar. But among those millions, a microscopic handful slipped through the presses with a secret that no one was supposed to see. A secret so rare that even the Royal Canadian Mint tried to cover it up. One collector in Ontario, sorting through an old jar of change, spotted something strange. The color was off, darker, with a sharper luster. When he flipped the coin, his heart stopped. The tiny maple leaves had a peculiar texture, and the rim seemed slightly raised, unlike any 2006 cent he'd seen before. He took it to a local coin dealer, expecting a shrug. Instead, the dealer leaned forward and whispered, "You have no idea what this could be." Because this wasn't just any 2006 penny. It was a transitional error, struck on the wrong metal planchet, from a different year's material. A freak minting accident that shouldn't even exist. Only a few examples have ever been confirmed, and each one tells a story of a split second at the mint, when machines malfunctioned, when a wrong blank was fed into the die, and when fate created a coin unlike any other. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. That same coin, once pocket change, sold at a private auction for nearly $1.8 million. The discovery sent shockwaves through the community. Collectors were calling, dealers were desperate to verify their stock, and experts began asking, how many more of these could still be out there? You see, the Royal Canadian Mint was transitioning its penny composition around that time, moving from copper to copper-plated steel. Most coins looked identical, but the weights were different. A true error from this period would have been struck on the wrong metal, and that's exactly what happened. The difference? Barely noticeable, unless you know what to look for. When held next to a regular 2006 cent, the rare variety has a slightly magnetic pull. It reacts differently because it's made from a copper-plated zinc core instead of steel. Its color is just a touch warmer, it sounds slightly higher when dropped. These small clues are what separate a $1 million treasure from an ordinary coin. Dealers couldn't believe it. How could a 1-cent coin, made in the 21st century, be worth more than a Ferrari? But it's all about rarity, timing, and mystery. Because the 2006 transitional era wasn't supposed to exist. The mint had strict quality control, yet somehow, a few escaped into circulation. And here's where it gets even stranger. Some reports suggest a limited number of these coins were struck using leftover 2005 blanks, older copper compositions that weren't meant to be used again. Others claim they were accidentally pressed during test runs before the official steel coins began production. Whatever the truth is, the result is the same, a coin that bridges two minting eras and holds an almost mythical value. But what makes this story so powerful isn't just the coin itself, it's the people who found it. One collector in Alberta said he nearly spent his at a vending machine before noticing its odd shine. Another discovered one inside a roll from the bank, thinking it was just another dull cent. Imagine opening a roll of pennies and realizing one is worth over $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were calling it the penny that rewrote Canadian coin history. And the Royal Canadian Mint? Silent. No official acknowledgement. No statement. Just quiet speculation, as prices continued to rise and stories of discoveries spread like wildfire. But here's the part that keeps people awake at night. Some experts believe there could be more of these coins still in circulation, quietly hiding in jars, drawers, and coin rolls. They could be anywhere, waiting for someone like you to notice the difference. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. To identify the 2006 Canada 1 cent that's worth a fortune, here's what to look for. Start by checking the coin's magnetism. Regular 2006 cents are magnetic because they're made of steel. If yours doesn't stick to a magnet, that's your first clue. Next, look at the shine. The rare transitional coin tends to have a more reddish, coppery tone. Finally, weigh it. A normal steel cent should weigh around 2.35 grams. If yours weighs closer to 2.5 grams, you might be holding the real deal. Collectors recommend using a simple digital scale and magnet, tools that could reveal a life-changing secret in your own pocket change. And don't ignore small imperfections. On the rare 2006 variety, some letters in Elizabeth II or Canada may appear slightly thicker or doubled, a telltale sign of an early strike or misaligned die. These are the tiny marks that turn an ordinary penny into a 6-figure, or even 7-figure, find. Imagine the feeling, flipping through old change, hearing that faint metallic ring, and realizing you just found something that could change your life forever. Because somewhere out there, another 2006 Canada 1 cent could be waiting, another piece of minting history disguised as a coin worth 1 cent. But to the right collector, it's a symbol of luck, rarity, and destiny. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Yours could be next. So before you toss your spare change or roll up those pennies for the bank, stop. Look closer. Test them. Because this exact coin, the 2006 Canada 1 cent, could be sitting quietly in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but it's now valued at nearly $2 million. Imagine holding a tiny piece of metal in your hand, thinking it's just a nickel, only to discover it could change your life forever. That's exactly what happened with the 2008 Canada 5 cents coin, a coin so rare, so overlooked, that collectors are still shaking their heads in disbelief. It all started with a minting error so subtle, most people don't even notice it. This isn't a scratch, a dent, or a faded mark. It's a hidden flaw in the coin's very design, a mistake that slipped past the Royal Canadian Mint, creating a collector's holy grail. And the story of how it surfaced is stranger than fiction. One day, an ordinary Canadian man found a handful of coins in a dusty drawer, leftovers from his kid's allowance. He flipped through them, casually sorting nickels from dimes, when something caught his eye. A small shine, a detail that didn't match the others. He held it under the light and realized it was unlike any nickel he had ever seen. It was the 2008 Canada 5-cent coin, but not just any version. This coin had an error so rare that it could fetch over $1 million at auction. Dealers were shocked when they first laid eyes on it. What seemed like an ordinary coin to most was actually a masterpiece of rarity. Experts quickly confirmed it. This nickel had been minted with a misaligned die, creating a doubling effect on the year and a slight off-center image of the beaver. These tiny imperfections turned a simple coin into a multi-million-dollar treasure. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. News of the discovery spread like wildfire. Collectors from across North America rushed to check their own pocket change, their wallets, even piggy banks, hoping to stumble upon the same fortune. Auctions were suddenly flooded with similar coins, but none matched the original in perfection. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, while countless others realized they had missed the hidden treasure in their own homes. What makes this coin so valuable isn't just the minting error. It's the story it tells, a story of oversight, luck, and timing. The 2008 Canada 5-cent coin is a reminder that sometimes, the smallest, most ordinary things can hold unimaginable value. And collectors weren't just chasing rarity, they were chasing the dream of a life-changing discovery. This coin isn't easy to identify. Many fakes circulate, and the differences can be microscopic. Experts advise looking for specific markers: the double date, the slightly raised edges on the beaver's tail, and the off-center strike that gives it a subtle, unmistakable tilt. Most people overlook these signs, assuming it's just a worn coin or a printing mistake. But this is what separates the $1 million coins from the ordinary. Collectors who have examined these coins describe the moment of recognition as electric. The thrill of spotting a misaligned die, the adrenaline rush of realizing you may be holding a fortune, it's addictive. Dealers are now hunting through years of pocket change, rolls of nickels, and forgotten jars of coins, hoping to uncover the next 2008 Canadian nickel miracle. And yet, the story doesn't end there. One auction sold a single coin for $1.8 million, a jaw-dropping figure that shocked even seasoned collectors. People watched in disbelief as the hammer fell. A coin worth mere cents had transformed into a life-altering sum in an instant. Families celebrated, careers were made, and a single nickel became the stuff of legend. But how can you know if the coin in your pocket is the real treasure? Start by examining the year closely. The doubling of the digits is subtle but unmistakable. Inspect the beaver. Its tail and back have a faint lift, almost as if the coin is trying to whisper its secret. And check the edges. The off-center strike is the final clue that separates ordinary nickels from the one that could be worth millions. Many collectors make the mistake of assuming any 2008 nickel with a small imperfection is valuable. That's simply not true. Only coins with the exact combination of doubling, die misalignment, and perfect preservation can reach the $1 million mark. This is why professional grading and careful authentication are essential. One slip, and your life-changing coin could be mistaken for everyday change. Imagine the possibilities. A coin you've held for years, tucked away in a jar on your shelf, suddenly has the power to change your life. The thrill, the disbelief, the sheer joy of discovering something worth millions of dollars, it's what every collector dreams of. And the truth is, this exact 2008 Canada 5-cent coin could be sitting in your drawer right now. So before you toss that handful of nickels into a machine or hand them to your kid for allowance, take a moment. Look closely. Examine every detail. You may be holding more than metal. You could be holding a piece of history. A piece of luck. A piece of fortune. This tiny coin, often overlooked and underestimated, holds the potential to transform an ordinary life into an extraordinary one. And when you finally see it, the double date, the slight tilt, the faint lift of the beaver's tail, the realization hits. This isn't just a coin. It's a $1 million opportunity. The clock is ticking for collectors who haven't yet discovered this secret. Each passing day, more coins are checked, more collectors are learning, and yet, a handful of these rare treasures remain hidden, waiting for the right hands to find them. Your jar of coins could be hiding a miracle. Your pocket change could be a fortune. This exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine holding a tiny piece of metal in your hand and realizing it could completely change your life. That's exactly what happened with one particular 2018 Canada 5-cent coin, a coin that seems ordinary at first glance, but hides a secret worth over $1 million. It all began in a small Canadian minting facility, where billions of coins were struck every year. Most passed through unnoticed, destined for pockets, piggy banks, and cash registers. But a handful of coins, a rare handful, had something different. Something that collectors now call the $1 million misprint. What makes this coin so extraordinary isn't just its date or its face value. It's a tiny flaw, almost invisible to the untrained eye. One small anomaly during the minting process, a misalignment, a doubling, a microscopic shift in the die, turned a normal coin into a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. And while most people tossed their change without a second thought, one collector noticed. The story of its discovery is almost unbelievable. A man, digging through his change jar, picked up what looked like a normal nickel. He didn't think much of it at first. But something about its shine, its weight, and a subtle marking made him pause. He sent a photo to a friend, who immediately gasped. "That's not just a coin," the friend whispered. "That could be $1 million coin." Dealers across the country were stunned when the coin surfaced. The tiny 5-cent piece, normally worth pocket change, was suddenly the hottest item in the numismatic world. Auctions saw bids climb into the hundreds of thousands, then, shockingly, surpass $1 million. Collectors couldn't believe their eyes. One coin, tucked away in someone's pocket, had become $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Experts examined it under high-powered magnification and realized that this coin wasn't just rare, it was the perfect storm of minting anomalies. A misaligned die, doubled engraving, and an unusual strike pattern combined to make each coin absolutely unique. And because it came from 2018, a year when mint records were incomplete, no one had predicted it would be so valuable. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. On the surface, it looks like any ordinary Canadian nickel, the familiar beaver on the reverse, the queen on the front. But if you look closely, you'll see a faint doubling around the numerals, a subtle off-center strike, and a minute indentation that shouldn't exist. Those three tiny irregularities, invisible to 99% of people, are what drive collectors and dealers into a frenzy. Imagine the emotional roller coaster for the original owner. One moment, it's just spare change in a drawer. The next, it's worth enough to pay off a mortgage, start a business, or fund a dream that once seemed impossible. That's the power of rare coins, ordinary objects that can deliver extraordinary wealth in the blink of an eye. Collectors were shocked. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Every time one appears on the market, bids skyrocket, hearts pound, and fortunes change hands. Stories have emerged of coins being found in purses, under couch cushions, and even in the pockets of clothing donated to charity. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and now, you could be holding a similar treasure without even knowing it. How can you identify this exact 2018 Canada 5-cent coin? First, check the year, 2018, and make sure it's a nickel with the standard beaver design. Then, hold it under bright light and examine the edges for any doubling in the engraving. Look closely at the numerals. A slight misalignment or tiny indentations are critical markers. Compare it with a standard coin. The differences are subtle, but unmistakable once you know what to look for. Avoid coins with obvious wear or damage. The market demands well-preserved examples. Every time someone misses these details, a potential $1 million coin disappears back into circulation. Every time someone notices, a life can change forever. That's the drama, the suspense, and the magic of this coin, and the most astonishing part? You don't need a vault full of rare coins or decades of experience to find one. Millions of Canadians carry change every day. Millions of coins circulate unseen, hidden in jars, drawers, and old wallets. One of them could be this rare 2018 5-cent nickel, waiting for someone to finally recognize its true value. This coin isn't just a collectible. It's a testament to fortune, timing, and attention to detail. It reminds us that incredible wealth can hide in the most unexpected places. That a single coin, overlooked by most, can deliver a life-changing outcome. Collectors are scanning their change with renewed hope. Dealers are watching auctions with bated breath. And anyone who's ever saved coins in a jar is asking themselves the same question: could this ordinary-looking nickel be worth over $1 million? This exact 2018 Canada 5-cent coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it sold for over $1 million. You might be holding a fortune in your pocket right now and not even know it. What seems like an ordinary 5-cent coin from 2005 could transform a simple moment into a life-changing discovery. It all started with a single mistake at the Royal Canadian Mint, a subtle imperfection that went unnoticed for years. Experts call it a minting anomaly, but for collectors, it's the holy grail of modern coins. Imagine a tiny detail so rare, so overlooked, that dealers across North America are still scrambling to find another one like it. One coin, one chance, and suddenly a lifetime of dreams is possible. The story begins with a man cleaning out his old coin jar. He noticed something odd about a 2005 nickel. Most people would have shrugged and spent it at a coffee shop, but this man had an eye for the extraordinary. The coin looked normal at first glance, shiny, standard, the familiar profile of the beaver. But under a magnifying glass, something miraculous appeared, a striking die error that only a handful of coins carry. This tiny anomaly could be worth up to $1.20 million. Collectors were shocked when the coin went up for auction. Bidding started quietly, almost anonymously, but within hours, the offers skyrocketed. Coin dealers who thought they knew every valuable Canadian nickel were suddenly scrambling. They realized this was no ordinary coin. This was the coin that could change fortunes overnight. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and the story was just beginning. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Rumors spread that a second coin had been spotted, identical in every way, but in worse condition. Could it be worth as much? Experts say condition matters, yet even a slightly worn version could fetch 6 figures. It's a reminder that history is fragile, and opportunity waits for no one. This isn't just a coin, it's a lesson in patience, perception, and luck. The coin's value is hidden in the details. You have to look closely at the rim, the beaver's tail, the subtle doubling on the number 5, imperfections the human eye might miss. Most people will glance, dismiss, and move on. But those who study it, who know exactly what to look for, could be holding a treasure worth more than $1 million without ever realizing it. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, attending obscure auctions, sifting through coin lots that others would ignore. The thrill isn't just in the money, it's in the hunt. Imagine the excitement of discovering what could be $1 million coin in a pile of ordinary change, the adrenaline, the disbelief. That's what makes this story so magnetic. And there's another secret many collectors don't know. The 2005 Canadian nickel is part of a limited mint run where only a fraction were struck with this exact error. That means for every 100 coins in circulation, maybe one carries this extraordinary mistake. One coin, one chance, and suddenly the unimaginable becomes reality. But how can you be sure you've found the right one? First, check the mint mark carefully. This anomaly isn't on every 2005 nickel. Examine the fine details under magnification. Look for doubling or raised edges that are slightly off. Avoid coins that have been polished or worn down, because even the slightest tampering can destroy the value. And remember, authenticity matters. Only coins verified by professional grading services will fetch 7-figure sums. Most people will never hold this coin, let alone realize its worth. But the ones who do, the ones who see beyond the ordinary, are the ones who could walk away with $1 million fortune. Collectors have described holding it as surreal, almost unreal, like holding history, luck, and fate in the palm of their hand. This exact 2005 Canada 5-cent coin could be hiding in your drawer right now. Maybe it's slipped between your couch cushions, maybe it's been in a jar for years, overlooked. It looks ordinary, but the story it carries is extraordinary. This coin represents more than money. It represents possibility, the thrill of discovery, and the unimaginable reward for those who pay attention. The Royal Canadian Mint didn't intend for anyone to stumble across this treasure. It was a subtle imperfection, an error in production, but sometimes mistakes create miracles. And this coin is the ultimate example, ordinary on the surface, priceless in the right hands. Imagine walking into an auction, holding a coin that could change everything. The room is silent as the bidding begins. Each increment feels like a heartbeat, each offer a step closer to destiny. And then, when the hammer finally falls, the coin sells for over $1 million. For that one person, life is forever transformed, all because they recognized what most people ignored. So, how do you spot it? Study the minting anomalies. Focus on the subtle raised details, the doubled edges, the unusual spacing. Compare it to standard 2005 nickels. Look for the unmistakable signs that turn an ordinary coin into $1 million miracle. Most people will never notice, but you could. This tiny 2005 Canadian nickel isn't just a coin. It's proof that extraordinary fortune can be hiding in plain sight. It's a reminder that patience, attention, and a little bit of luck can lead to life-changing discoveries. And right now, somewhere in the United States, one of these coins could be waiting in someone's pocket, drawer, or coin jar. This exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a vending machine, but it sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine holding something so ordinary in your hand, yet hiding a secret that could change your life forever. That's the story of the 2001 Canada 25-cent coin, a coin that has stunned collectors around the world and is now worth up to $1.30 million. It all started quietly in Canada, during an ordinary minting year. The Royal Canadian Mint was churning out coins by the millions, and this one seemed like any other quarter. But a subtle, almost invisible error occurred during production, a detail so small, so easy to miss, that most people never even noticed it. For decades, this coin quietly existed in circulation, passing through the hands of children, shopkeepers, and everyday Canadians. Collectors first began noticing something strange when high-resolution images started circulating online. A faint doubling of the design, a slightly off-center imprint, an anomaly so subtle that only a trained eye could detect it. Dealers started paying attention. Auction houses began to whisper. And then, one fateful discovery changed everything. A retired schoolteacher was emptying her old coin jar when she noticed something unusual glinting in the sunlight. It was the 2001 Canada 25-cent coin, and something about it made her pause. She examined it under a magnifying glass, noticing tiny irregularities along the edge and an almost imperceptible shift in the design. She didn't know it yet, but this ordinary coin she had been carrying for years was about to become $1 million miracle. News spread like wildfire. Collectors were shocked. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, knowing that a single find could rewrite the history of Canadian coin collecting. What makes this coin so extraordinary is not just the minting error, it's the story of its survival. Most coins with errors are discovered and lost in obscure collections, but this one survived decades of everyday use, only to resurface in the most unexpected way. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The coin was submitted to a professional grading service, where experts confirmed what nobody dared to hope. This was an authentic 2001 Canada 25-cent coin with a rare, certified error. Its value skyrocketed almost instantly. From a simple piece of pocket change to a collectible worth over $1 million, the transformation was breathtaking. One of the most remarkable aspects of this coin is how easily it can be overlooked. The error is subtle, a tiny shift in the engraving, a barely noticeable doubling in the image, a detail most people pass by without a second glance. Yet this minor imperfection is exactly what makes the coin so valuable. It's a reminder that sometimes, the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is almost invisible. Collectors started hunting obsessively. Coin shops reported that inquiries for 2001 Canada 25-cent coins surged. Online auctions saw bids climbing into six figures. Experts warn that the market for this coin is extremely limited. Only a handful of authentic specimens are known to exist, making each one a rare gem. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. He had carried a handful of coins for years, unaware that one of them could make him a fortune. The realization sent shockwaves through the collector community. If a retired schoolteacher could stumble upon such a prize, anyone could. The excitement was palpable. Every coin jar, every pocket change, every forgotten drawer suddenly held the possibility of unimaginable wealth. This coin also taught collectors an important lesson about vigilance. Many missed the opportunity simply because they didn't know what to look for. The critical features include the faint doubling in the design, the slight misalignment along the rim, and the specific texture and shine that indicate a minting error. Those who learn to spot these telltale signs have a chance to find a true treasure hidden in plain sight. Dealers and auction houses continue to track these coins obsessively. Stories of high-profile sales make headlines, but the real excitement is in the unexpected finds, the quiet moments when someone discovers a coin in a jar, a wallet, or a purse and suddenly realizes it's worth millions. Each new discovery adds to the legend of the 2001 Canada 25-cent coin, turning ordinary moments into life-changing events. And the drama doesn't end there. Some collectors report nearly missing the coin by mere hours. Auctions have been decided in the final seconds, fortunes changing hands before anyone could fully comprehend it. The thrill of this hunt is what keeps the coin world electrified. It's not just about money, it's about the story, the mystery, the thrill of discovery. So how can you identify this coin and avoid common mistakes? First, examine the design closely. Look for subtle doubling or misalignment that is not present in standard coins. Check the rim for tiny irregularities. And always consult a professional grading service if you think you may have found one. Authenticity is everything in the world of high-value coins. Never assume a coin is ordinary. The difference between a regular quarter and a $1 million treasure can be almost invisible. Remember, this coin is extremely rare. Only a handful exist, and each one tells a story of chance, patience, and the magic of discovery. Collectors who have managed to find even one of these coins have witnessed firsthand how a single coin can transform a life. The combination of rarity, historical significance, and the subtle error creates a perfect storm of value that is unmatched in modern coin collecting. Imagine holding this coin in your hand, knowing that it could be worth over $1 million. The weight of history, the thrill of chance, and the potential for life-changing wealth all converge in this tiny piece of metal. And the most astonishing part? This exact 2001 Canada 25-cent coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, forgotten, overlooked, waiting for someone with a keen eye to discover its hidden fortune. Time and again, stories like this remind us that miracles exist in the most ordinary places. What seems like a simple coin can hold a secret worth millions of dollars. It's a treasure story that unfolds quietly, waits patiently, and rewards the vigilant collector. And if you're listening closely, it could be your story next. This exact coin could be hiding in your home, in a jar, in a wallet, even under a couch cushion. One careful look, one patient eye, one moment of curiosity could reveal a $1 million miracle waiting for you. This is more than a coin, it's a reminder that extraordinary fortune can appear in the most ordinary moments. And it's waiting. So start searching. Examine your coins. Learn the signs. And remember the lesson of the 2001 Canada 25-cent coin. Sometimes, the most powerful treasures are hiding right in front of you. One tiny detail, unnoticed by most, could turn your pocket change into a fortune. This exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but today, it's being chased by collectors who would pay over $1 million to get it. Imagine holding a piece of pocket change in your hand, and realizing it could change your life forever. That's exactly what happened with the 2021 Canada 25-cent coin, a coin so rare, so mysterious, that it has stunned the coin world. It all began with a subtle, almost invisible mistake during the minting process. Nobody thought much of it at first. It was just another coin rolling off the production line in Ottawa. But hidden in plain sight was a tiny error, one that could be spotted only by the most observant eyes. Collectors quickly realized this was no ordinary quarter. The design was slightly off, the dates slightly misaligned, and a detail most would miss completely made this coin a one-in-a-million phenomenon. One man discovered it while sorting his pocket change. He didn't even know what he had. A casual glance at the coin didn't raise alarms. But when he held it under the light, every detail became clear. The ridge of the coin shimmered differently, the mint mark was unlike any other, and the subtle misprint on the obverse was unmistakable. This tiny quarter, worth 25 cents in stores, was suddenly a ticket to unimaginable wealth. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Auctions have exploded with offers, and collectors are scrambling across the country. Some have paid over $1 million for coins just like this one. Experts say the rarity comes not just from the minting error, but from the incredible story behind it. It's a coin that almost disappeared into circulation, a coin that might have ended up forgotten at the bottom of a purse or a dusty coin jar. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread, and suddenly, everyone was looking for it. Social media feeds filled with photos, videos, and testimonies of collectors who had stumbled across this very coin. Some found it in their change. Others discovered it tucked in old wallets. One man even bought a bag of coins at a garage sale and uncovered 3 of them inside. These coins are not just rare, they are legendary. Collectors were shocked to learn just how valuable this coin could be. The most pristine examples, graded by experts and certified, have sold for staggering sums. One auction recently recorded a sale for $1.4 million. That's right, what started as a humble quarter now carries a life-changing price tag. And the craziest part? This exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now. So, what makes this coin worth so much? It's all about the minting mistake. The ridge along the edge is sharper than it should be, the design elements are slightly misaligned, and the year 2021 has a double strike that's almost invisible. Most collectors would never notice, but experts say these small errors are what create $1 million coin. Missing this detail is the difference between pocket change and a fortune. Imagine the moment of discovery. You're flipping through coins, maybe even feeling a little bored, when suddenly something catches your eye. The glint of the metal. The unusual alignment. Your heart races as you realize, this is no ordinary coin. You might be holding a piece of history. One man described it as a $1 million miracle in the palm of my hand. And in many ways, that's exactly what it is. But don't be fooled, many fake or altered coins have flooded the market. Collectors must be meticulous. Look closely at the edge, the date, and the fine details on the face of the coin. Avoid coins that look polished or artificially aged. Authentic coins have a distinct look that comes from the minting process, not from human tampering. Knowing these subtle clues is how you separate a $1 coin from a $1 million treasure. Every few minutes, a new story emerges. Someone finds one at a supermarket, another in a tip jar, and suddenly, the coin becomes the center of media attention. Dealers who once ignored Canadian quarters are now paying top dollar. Experts say it's not just about the coin itself, it's about being in the right place at the right time, and recognizing the signs that make a coin extraordinary. This tiny quarter is proof that fortune often hides in the most ordinary places. What looks like everyday change could be your ticket to wealth, fame, and a story you'll tell for a lifetime. People who were once just casual collectors are now millionaires, all because they spotted what others overlooked. Now, here's exactly how to identify the 2021 Canada 25 cents coin worth up to $1.4 million. First, check the ridge along the edge. It's slightly more pronounced than usual. Next, inspect the date carefully. The double strike is subtle but unmistakable. Look at the maple leaf and the queen's profile. Misalignments or tiny design flaws are your key indicators. And finally, trust your instincts. If something about a coin feels unusual, investigate it. This attention to detail could turn a simple quarter into $1 million miracle, Imagine telling your grandchildren how a simple coin from 2021 changed your life. Imagine the stories you'll share of auctions, of frantic phone calls, of that moment you first realized, I have something extraordinary in my hand. One small piece of metal, a fraction of an ounce, suddenly worth more than you ever dreamed. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Every time you pick up a coin, remember, treasure doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hides quietly, waiting for the right eye to spot it. That moment could be today. That moment could be yours. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but today, it can sell for nearly $1 million. Imagine that, a tiny copper disc, tossed carelessly into a jar of pennies, holding a fortune that could change a lifetime. And yet most people will walk past it without ever realizing the treasure in their hand. Back in 2004, Canada's pennies were still striking circulation. Ordinary coins, ordinary metal, ordinary designs, until a small batch slipped through the mint with a hidden error so subtle, it went unnoticed for years. Collectors were shocked when one of these coins surfaced at a small auction in Toronto. What should have been a penny worth 1 cent sold for over $500,000, sending ripples through the coin world. But what happened next stunned the entire coin community. Suddenly, collectors everywhere were opening rolls of change, examining each 2004 penny with a magnifying glass, searching for the telltale flaw that could turn pocket change into million-dollar treasure. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, knowing that missing it could mean losing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The secret lies in a tiny minting mistake, almost invisible unless you know exactly where to look. The rim is slightly off. A faint doubling of the numbers in the date. Some coins even show a subtle strike shift, an anomaly caused by the press slipping at the moment of minting. Most casual collectors would toss it aside, seeing nothing but a shiny copper coin, but one man's pocket change became $1 million miracle simply because he knew what to look for, and it doesn't end there. One coin, discovered in the back of a junk drawer, sold for an astonishing $1.5 million at auction. Think about that, a coin that could have been used for a simple purchase, now worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. The auctioneer described the room as electric, every collector on edge, waiting for the final hammer to fall. The crowd gasped when the price was announced. No one saw it coming. The story of this coin is as mysterious as the coin itself. How many others are out there? How many lie forgotten in wallets, drawers, or jars? The Canadian Mint never intended for this penny to be rare. It was meant to be ordinary, mass-produced for daily use. Yet, a small batch slipped through the cracks, creating one of the most sought-after collectibles in recent history. Collectors were shocked to discover that even minor differences, the thickness of the rim, the angle of the date, the tiny double-strike marks, could elevate a coin from ordinary to priceless. Each detail is critical. One misread mark can mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent or over $1 million. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. These coins are not always easy to identify. Some show only a faint doubling on the numbers. Others have tiny scratches from the minting press that can be mistaken for wear. Most people simply glance at the coin and move on, missing the hidden fortune right under their nose. And that's why every collector, every enthusiast, should take a moment with their 2004 pennies. Examine them carefully, look for the faint doubling in the date, the slightly raised rim, the subtle strike shift. These are the clues that separate ordinary pennies from million-dollar treasures. A single moment of attention, a magnifying glass, and a bit of patience can uncover a fortune that could change a life forever. Imagine the possibilities. That coin you've ignored for years, buried in a jar or lying in your pocket, could be the one that defines your collector career. One discovery could make you richer than you ever dreamed, all from a coin minted nearly 2 decades ago. And there's more. Auction stories tell of last-minute bids, of collectors discovering multiple examples in unsuspecting rolls, and of coins being passed down in families, hidden for years, only to emerge as million-dollar sensations. The suspense, the uncertainty, the thrill of the hunt, it's what makes coin collecting not just a hobby, but a chance at extraordinary fortune. One man found his in a pile of coins left by his grandparents. He didn't even know it was special until a friend, a seasoned collector, pointed out the tiny irregularities. Within months, that unassuming penny became a symbol of luck, timing, and meticulous attention to detail. It sold for nearly $1.5 million, proving that fortune favors the observant, the patient, and the curious. So, how do you know if your 2004 Canadian penny is the one? Focus on these three markers. Check for faint doubling on the date, examine the rim for subtle misalignment, and look for slight irregularities in the strike. Avoid assuming wear or scratches are normal. Sometimes, what looks like imperfection is the key to million-dollar value. Remember, every detail counts. This coin is more than just copper, it's a story of chance, discovery, and extraordinary fortune. It's proof that life-changing treasures can be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone who knows where to look. And the truth is, it could be in your home right now. So take a moment. Empty that jar of pennies. Examine your change. Look at the 2004 pennies carefully. That exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a charity jar, but today, it's commanding prices that could change a life forever. Imagine holding a simple Canadian penny, minted over a century ago, in the palm of your hand, and realizing it could be worth over $1 million. It sounds impossible, but for collectors, this is the stuff of dreams. It all started in 1867, the year Canada became a confederation. The first pennies were struck with intricate designs, tiny details that most people never notice. Fast forward decades, and mistakes began to creep in, minting errors, misaligned dies, and coins that slipped through the cracks of quality control. What many dismissed as ordinary pennies have now become some of the rarest treasures in the coin world. Collectors were shocked when an 1867 penny surfaced in perfect condition. One man had kept it in a shoebox for decades, thinking it was just spare change. When he took it to a dealer, he was told, "You're holding $1 million coin." That moment turned a lifetime of casual collecting into an instant fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Dealers rushed to auctions, combing through estates, thrift stores, even old wallets. One 1920 penny, previously overlooked, sold for $1.2 million. The key was a tiny detail almost invisible to the naked eye, a misstrike so subtle that only trained eyes could detect it. This is exactly why these pennies are priceless. The value hides in the details, and most people miss it entirely. The 1940s brought another wave of rarity. During World War II, metal shortages led to unusual compositions for pennies. Some were struck in steel instead of bronze. Some bore double dies, while others carried slight variations in lettering or date spacing. These imperfections, almost invisible, now command the attention of high-stakes collectors worldwide. One man's casual purchase of a 1943 penny in his grandfather's drawer ended up being $1 million miracle. By the 1960s and 1970s, coin production skyrocketed, but errors didn't disappear. The 1967 penny, for example, had a few rare varieties with doubled letters and misaligned mint marks. Collectors who spotted these coins early became legends in the coin community. Auctions sold them for staggering sums, and dealers were left scrambling for the next hidden treasure. Then came the modern era, the 1980s and early 1990s. Most people believed pennies were worthless, but minting anomalies still appeared: tiny scratches, misstrikes, and rare die errors. One 1987 coin, found in a jar of change, sold for $900,000. Another 1992 variant recently auctioned for $1.6 million. The lesson is clear: history hides in plain sight, and one small coin could contain unimaginable wealth. Every collector has a story like this. One woman found a 1911 penny while cleaning her attic. It was bent and tarnished, almost thrown away. But a dealer recognized the subtle die variety, and suddenly, her pocket change was worth more than a lifetime of savings. Stories like this repeat themselves every year, proving that fortune favors the observant, the patient, and the lucky. Now, here's the secret that separates ordinary coins from million-dollar legends. When searching for the 1867 to 1992 Canadian penny, Look closely at the date, the letters, and the mint mark. Check for double dies, misaligned impressions, or unusual metal compositions. Even minor scratches or variations can completely change the value. Avoid coins that are heavily worn, cleaned, or altered. Dealers can spot them in an instant. Pay attention to the small details: the curve of the numeral, the spacing between letters, the thickness of the rim. These are the invisible markers of rarity. Learn them, and you could spot $1 million coin without ever setting foot in an auction house. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, the one coin that transforms ordinary change into an extraordinary fortune. A simple glance could reveal a century-old secret worth over $1 million. The clock is ticking for hidden treasures. While the world dismisses pennies as trivial, collectors are quietly building empires from overlooked change. One small discovery, one careful inspection, could make you the next coin legend. Think about it: decades of history, metal struck by hand, and mistakes that make ordinary coins priceless. Every scratch, every misaligned letter, every rare date carries a story that can make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. So the next time you find a Canadian penny from between 1867 and 1992, stop and examine it. Look for those subtle clues that hint at something extraordinary. What seems ordinary might be your life-changing $1 million discovery. And remember, history repeats itself. The next hidden penny, tucked in a drawer, a piggy bank, or a jar of coins, could turn an everyday collector into a legend. It's not just a coin, it's a secret from the past, waiting for the right person to reveal its full worth. This is your chance. This is the story of ordinary pennies hiding extraordinary value. And this is the truth: one glance at the right coin, one careful inspection, and you could hold over $1 million in the palm of your hand. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but today, it's being whispered about in auction houses as one of the rarest and most valuable pennies in the world. A single 2005 Canada 1-cent coin, tucked away in someone's forgotten change jar, recently stunned collectors by being valued at an unbelievable $1.70 million. It all started with a minor minting anomaly, something most people would never even notice. Back in 2005, the Royal Canadian Mint produced millions of pennies, the vast majority ordinary, unnoticed, and destined to disappear into circulation. But a tiny batch emerged with a misalignment so subtle, so invisible to the untrained eye, that only a handful of experts even realized it existed. This was no ordinary penny. This was a coin that could turn a casual pocket change holder into a millionaire overnight. Collectors who spotted it described it as a miracle in copper. Dealers began scouring old coin rolls, thrift stores, and even the bottoms of drawers, searching for this elusive piece of history. Imagine holding a coin that the mint didn't even intend to create. Yet here it was, pristine, gleaming, and worth more than most people will earn in a lifetime. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One lucky collector in Toronto bought a box of pennies for just a few dollars. He flipped through them casually, expecting nothing more than a few cents in return. Then he noticed it, the 2005 penny, perfect condition, with the minting anomaly that set it apart. What happened next would change his life forever. News spread like wildfire. Auction houses received calls from across the globe. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on this coin. And the value kept climbing. One auction ended with a final bid that no one expected, over $1.7 million. A coin no bigger than your thumb had suddenly become more valuable than a luxury car, more coveted than rare stamps, and a dream that few thought possible. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the date. Look at the edges. The misstrike is subtle, almost invisible, but once you know what to look for, it jumps out at you. The light catches it differently, and suddenly, the coin you thought was ordinary is revealed as something extraordinary. This isn't just a penny, it's a time capsule, a story frozen in metal, a bridge between the ordinary and the unimaginable. Collectors everywhere are now scanning their coin collections, thrift store finds, and old jars of change, wondering if they might hold their own millionaire miracle. The Royal Canadian Mint has never officially announced the full number of these rare misprints, leaving every collector to dream that their next discovery could be the one dot. And here's the shocking part: it's not even about condition alone. Many pennies from 2005 are perfectly preserved. What sets this coin apart is the exact placement of the minting flaw, something only certified graders can authenticate. The tiniest variation, a slightly off-center strike, a double numeral, a subtle detail on the rim, can mean the difference between an ordinary penny and a piece worth $1 million. Imagine the story this coin tells. Born in a factory in 2005, handled by countless hands, forgotten in circulation, only to reappear in a quiet moment of luck and patience. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And now, the story continues with anyone who dares to look closely, anyone willing to examine the pennies in their drawers, their jars, their rolls. Many collectors have reported scanning hundreds of pennies before finding one that resembles the 2005 misprint. It's like searching for a needle in a haystack, a needle that could change your life forever. And while some people think it's just luck, experts insist there's a method. Look for the faint doubling on the date, check the subtle variations in the copper coloring, and examine the edges carefully. The tiniest detail is the key. Dealers are watching closely, waiting for the next appearance of this coin. And here's what makes it so incredible: unlike gold or silver, which can be mined or refined, this coin is finite. There are only a handful in existence. Each one holds not just monetary value, but a story, a mystery, a moment frozen in time. That rarity is what drives the astronomical price tags, the fierce competition, and the near-obsessive hunt among collectors. One woman in Vancouver recently discovered a coin that matched the description exactly. She didn't even realize its value at first. She thought it was just a lucky find. Hours later, after consulting experts and sending it for authentication, she found herself holding a coin that could sell for over $1 million. Tears, disbelief, jubilation, it all happened in the span of a single afternoon. This is the dream that keeps coin collectors awake at night. The dream that drives them to meticulously examine every roll, every jar, every scrap of change. The dream that says, your next penny could be your ticket to unimaginable wealth. And in this case, the 2005 Canada 1-cent coin has become the symbol of that dream. So, how can you spot this coin for yourself? First, check the date, 2005. Next, examine the edges. Look for uneven alignment, or a faint doubling effect. Then, the minting flaw, subtle, almost invisible, yet unmistakable to trained eyes. Compare it to reference images from certified coin grading companies. And finally, if you suspect you found it, get it graded. Authentication is key. Because one small misstep, one overlooked detail, can mean the difference between holding an ordinary penny and owning a coin worth $1 million. Remember this. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a cup of spilled coins on a dusty kitchen counter, but today, it's worth nearly $2 million. Imagine that, a single tiny penny, lying forgotten, about to change someone's life forever. And yet, most people wouldn't even give it a second glance. But this isn't just any coin. What makes the 1984 Canada 1-cent coin so extraordinary is a hidden story that almost no one knows. And it all begins with a minting error so rare, so bizarre, that collectors have been hunting it for decades. Back in 1984, the Royal Canadian Mint was producing pennies like any other year, billions of them. Most would enter circulation and quietly vanish into cash registers, jarred on counters, or lost under couch cushions. But a very small number didn't follow the normal path. Due to a combination of die errors, misalignments, and striking anomalies, a select few were minted with characteristics so unusual that today, they're considered among the rarest Canadian coins ever created. One collector stumbled upon this secret completely by accident. He wasn't searching for a fortune, he was just sorting through loose change from a thrift store haul when he noticed something that didn't look quite right. At first glance, it was just a regular 1984 penny. But something about the details caught his eye, a subtle doubling on the numbers, a tiny misstrike on the maple leaf, almost invisible unless held in perfect light. He thought it might be nothing, until he took it to a local dealer, who almost dropped it out of sheer disbelief. "This is one of the rarest mint errors I've ever seen," the dealer whispered. And in that moment, a coin worth pocket change became a potential $1 million treasure. Collectors were shocked. News spread slowly at first, through whispered conversations at coin shows and private auctions. Everyone wanted to see the coin. Everyone wanted to own it. But what made it truly remarkable wasn't just the error, it was the story behind it. Most pennies get minted, spend a few years in circulation, and vanish. But this 1984 penny, survived, almost like it was waiting for the right person to discover it. And when it finally appeared at a high-profile auction in 2001, the bidding war was unprecedented. Dealers were scrambling, collectors were on edge, and the final hammer fell at a number that would make anyone's jaw drop: $1.80 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A few weeks later, another example surfaced, this one found in a roll of pennies at a local bank. A retired teacher had been counting her change and noticed the same strange doubling on the coin. She didn't know it at the time, but that one discovery instantly made her one of the wealthiest casual collectors in Canada. One man's pocket change had become a $1 million miracle. And it wasn't just luck. This coin was a lesson in observation, patience, and knowing exactly what to look for. So how can you spot this exact coin? Start by checking the year. 1984 is essential. Then, look closely at the details. The edge should be sharp and clear, but some of the rare ones have subtle die cracks or doubled digits in the date. The maple leaf on the reverse sometimes shows a tiny misalignment or extra metal in one of its veins. And the most critical sign of all? The spacing of the numbers. A minute shift in alignment can be the difference between an ordinary penny and a $1.8 million coin. Most collectors miss it because it's almost invisible to the untrained eye. But once you know what to look for, the difference is undeniable. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any suspect 1984 pennies, and private collectors are scrutinizing every roll of change they come across. This coin has turned everyday people into millionaires overnight. Imagine going through a jar of coins and suddenly realizing that what you thought was insignificant could actually be worth more than your car, or even your house. But the story doesn't end there. Hidden minting anomalies sometimes appear in unexpected batches. A single roll of pennies from 1984 could contain 2, 3, or even more of these rare treasures. Some have ended up in collections that will never sell, quietly tucked away in albums, while others are making headlines with jaw-dropping auction results. Each discovery rewrites what collectors thought they knew about Canadian coins. Collectors are obsessed. They travel across the country, comparing coins under magnifying glasses, holding pennies up to intense light, looking for the tiniest irregularity. One so mark can make the difference between a penny worth a few cents and a penny worth $1 million. And yet, despite the attention, most of these coins remain hidden in plain sight, lying quietly in drawers, jars, or forgotten rolls of change. So if you're searching through your own coins right now, remember this: it could be there. That tiny, overlooked penny, casually flipping through your fingers, could be the key to a life-changing discovery. Pay attention to the details. Check the date. Look for doubling, misalignments, and unusual markings. Compare the spacing of the numbers to ordinary 1984 pennies. Look at the maple leaf carefully. A tiny shift could mean the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. One moment, it's just another coin. The next, it could make you a millionaire. The 1984 Canada 1-cent coin isn't just a coin, it's a story, a mystery, and a potential fortune waiting to be uncovered. So start looking. Start examining. The next discovery could be yours, and the next $1 million miracle could be hiding in your pocket change. This coin almost ended up in a kitchen drawer, forgotten, ignored, and destined to vanish into obscurity. But today, that tiny piece of copper has stunned the world, selling for nearly $1 million, and in some cases, even more than $1.8 million. What could make a simple Canadian penny worth a fortune? You're about to find out. It all begins with a story few collectors know. Back in 1867, the very first year of Canadian Confederation, pennies were struck with a precision that was unprecedented for the time. But somewhere along the way, a few coins slipped through the cracks, minting mistakes so subtle that only the trained eye can see them. One scratch here, a doubling there, a missing letter in the word Canada. These were tiny, almost invisible anomalies. And yet today, these tiny errors make a coin worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. Collectors were shocked when a single 1876 penny, thought to be ordinary, sold for hundreds of thousands at auction. Dealers are now scouring old coin rolls, basements, even change jars, desperate to find the next hidden gem. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle, simply because he noticed a slight difference in the design that no one else could see. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In the 20th century, a series of Canadian pennies were minted with minor variations that were nearly impossible to catch. From 1901 to 1920, a small number of pennies bore die errors, letters missing, lines doubled, or spacing slightly off. Experts call them die varieties, and they are the secret that drives collectors wild. A single penny from this era recently sold for over $500,000, and rumors circulate of coins quietly changing hands for more than $1.20 million. You might think that these coins are easy to spot. But in reality, most people overlook the details entirely. One tiny curve of a number, one faint line on the maple leaf, and suddenly a coin goes from worthless to priceless. The emotional reaction of collectors when they spot these errors for the first time is unforgettable. Disbelief, excitement, and the instant realization that their life could change in a single moment. Even coins minted in the 1980s carry surprises. From 1980 to 1992, Canadian pennies were produced in massive quantities. Most were ordinary, but a few were struck incorrectly. Sometimes the date is off-center. Sometimes the composition is subtly different. And in these small differences lie fortunes. In one recent discovery, a collector was flipping through his change and found a 1982 penny with an unusual die clash. What most people would throw away or overlook turned out to be worth more than $1 million. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The difference between an ordinary penny and one worth a fortune can be as small as a faint line under the leaf or a doubled number in the year. Yet dealers know that spotting these tiny imperfections is what separates a collector from someone who accidentally discovers a treasure. Every auction seems to tell a new story. A 1911 penny with a missing dot sold quietly online for over $400,000. Another, a 1937 penny with an unusual strike, fetched more than $600,000 at a European auction. Dealers are now willing to pay hundreds of thousands, even millions, for coins that were once treated as mundane. And here's the kicker: many of these coins are still hiding in jars, drawers, and wallets across North America. One particularly astonishing case involved a collector who found a 1967 penny with a subtle die error. At first glance, it looked ordinary. But under magnification, he noticed a tiny doubling on the last digit of the year. Experts confirmed it was extremely rare, and the coin quickly reached a valuation of over $1.5 million. Stories like this make the coin world tremble, because they show that anyone, at any time, could stumble upon a life-changing discovery. And it's not just old coins. Even coins from the 1980s and 1990s are creating headlines. From 1980 to 1992, mistakes slipped into circulation due to machine errors or misaligned dies. A faint line here, a dot missing there, and suddenly a coin becomes an auction sensation. Collectors are now hunting these coins with the same intensity as gold, and the results are staggering. First, look at the date carefully. Check for doubling, misalignment, or missing details. Examine the edges and the maple leaf closely. Any faint extra lines, unusual markings, or irregularities can be a sign that your penny is one of the rarest Canadian coins ever minted. Use a magnifying glass or take it to a certified dealer if you see anything unusual. Remember, the tiniest detail could mean the difference between ordinary change and $1 million discovery. One final story perfectly captures the magic of these coins. A retired schoolteacher in Toronto was cleaning out an old coin collection and found a 1920 penny. Something about it caught his eye, a faint doubled 2 in the date. He had no idea what it meant. Within weeks, experts confirmed it as a rare die variety, and the coin sold for over $1.8 million. His simple act of curiosity turned decades of accumulated pennies into an unimaginable fortune. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Imagine flipping through change, finding that one tiny error, and instantly realizing your life has changed forever. Collectors are searching tirelessly, dealers are paying handsomely, and the tiniest mistakes are creating million-dollar miracles. Keep your eyes open, study every coin closely, and don't overlook the ordinary. Because the next Canadian penny worth millions might already be in your pocket. If you want, I can also break this into a timed 15-minute YouTube voiceover script with natural pauses, attention resets, and verbal cues so you can directly record it without editing. It will hit every suspenseful beat perfectly and flow like a blockbuster treasure story. Do you want me to do that next? This coin almost ended up in the trash, but now, it's valued at over $1 million. Imagine reaching into your pocket for spare change and discovering a coin so rare, so extraordinary, that it could change your life forever. That's exactly what happened with the 2007 Canada 1-cent coin, a tiny piece of copper hiding an unbelievable story. It all started in a quiet mint in Ottawa, where a small batch of pennies was struck with a mysterious error. For years, no one noticed. These coins slipped through the cracks, quietly entering circulation alongside every other ordinary penny. But collectors have a sixth sense for anomalies, and when this one surfaced, the reaction was explosive. It's a perfect storm of rarity and mistake. The 2007 Canada 1-cent isn't just a penny. It's an extremely rare variant, a misstrike so subtle that the average person wouldn't give it a second glance. One tiny deviation in the design, one subtle flaw, and suddenly this ordinary coin is worth a fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A man in a small Canadian town bought a handful of pennies from a local convenience store, just hoping to add to his collection. Months later, he stumbled across this exact coin in his change. At first, he didn't realize what he had. It looked like any other penny, but the details told a different story. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on this coin. News spread across forums and auction houses. This 2007 Canada 1-cent could sell for over $1 million. And it wasn't just hype. Auction records confirmed it. People were bidding relentlessly, driven by the chance to own a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. The key is in the tiny details. The edges, the lines, the spacing of the numbers. Each subtle inconsistency can mean the difference between an ordinary penny and $1 million miracle. Many coins are mistaken for the real thing, but experts know exactly what to check. Misalignment, doubled engraving, or an unusual imprint can instantly mark a penny as one of these rare errors. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Imagine holding something so ordinary that it fits in your palm, yet it carries the power to completely transform your life. Every coin collector dreams of this moment, but only a few are lucky enough to experience it. This isn't just about money, it's about history, chance, and the thrill of discovery. And the story doesn't end there. Some coins were sold privately before hitting major auctions, fetching prices that made headlines. Rumors circulated of collectors trading their entire collections for a single 2007 Canada 1-cent. The coin world had never seen anything like it, and the frenzy only grew as more were discovered. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. In some cases, the flaw is so minuscule that even seasoned collectors overlook it. But those who can spot it instantly know they're holding a piece of history, a key to unimaginable wealth, a coin that could be the crown jewel of any collection. Even today, dealers and collectors hunt for these coins tirelessly. Coin shows, flea markets, even pockets of change across North America are scoured with magnifying glasses, searching for that elusive 2007 Canada 1-cent. And with each new discovery, the legend grows. If you think it's impossible to find one in circulation, think again. Many of these coins were quietly slipped into everyday transactions, meaning they could be sitting in someone's wallet, forgotten in a jar of pennies, or tucked away in a drawer. The next lucky finder might be you. But beware, mistakes are everywhere. Ordinary 2007 pennies look almost identical, and counterfeit attempts exist. Only by examining the coin under magnification, checking the specific error marks, and confirming with experts can you be certain. The stakes are high, but the payoff is nothing short of extraordinary. Collectors still tell stories of the adrenaline, the disbelief, the joy of realizing they were holding a piece of history worth over $1 million. The excitement is contagious, the stakes unimaginably high, and the legacy of this tiny penny is now cemented in the annals of numismatic legend. Look for subtle variations in design, unusual strikes, and any deviation from the standard 2007 minting. Compare with verified examples, and if in doubt, consult a professional grader. A careful eye, patience, and persistence can turn an ordinary handful of pennies into a treasure hunt of a lifetime. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. One tiny coin, one extraordinary chance, one life-changing discovery waiting for someone bold enough to find it. Are you ready to check your change? Because the next millionaire might just be you. If you want, I can also expand this version into an even more detailed, minute-by-minute 15-minute voiceover script with multiple cliffhangers, emotional beats, and countdown-style storytelling to maximize watch time and suspense. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but today, it could be worth over $1 million. Imagine holding a piece of pocket change that one day makes you a millionaire. That's exactly what happened with one of the rarest Canadian pennies ever minted, the 1966 Canada 1 cent. And the story behind it will shock every collector, amateur and expert alike. It all starts with a tiny detail, nearly invisible to the untrained eye. In 1966, the Royal Canadian Mint produced millions of pennies, most of them ordinary, unremarkable coins destined for circulation. But among those millions, a few slipped through the cracks with a minting error so rare, it would eventually turn ordinary pennies into million-dollar treasures. Dealers and collectors alike were stunned when these coins surfaced. One man, cleaning out his grandmother's old coin jar, had no idea he was about to stumble onto history. He noticed a penny that looked normal at first glance, but something was off. A closer look revealed a striking anomaly, a doubling of the date, almost ghost-like, etched into the metal. This was not just a quirk. It was a minting error, a misstep that occurred in a highly specific batch that collectors now chase relentlessly. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. He took that penny to a local dealer, expecting maybe a few dollars for a curiosity. The dealer froze. They had seen this coin before, on auction catalogs, in whisperings among elite collectors, but never in the hands of an everyday person. After a thorough inspection, the dealer confirmed what he had feared. This was one of the rarest 1966 Canada 1 cent coins ever minted. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling. And suddenly, that forgotten penny in a jar had a value of over $1 million. The news spread like wildfire through the numismatic community. Auction houses prepared for frenzy, as history showed that a coin of this rarity could sell for staggering amounts, often eclipsing even the most famous Canadian coins from decades past. But it's not just the doubling on the date that makes this penny extraordinary. Look closer. Many people miss another subtle, yet crucial detail: the alignment of the maple leaf. Slightly off, almost imperceptibly, it indicates that this coin came from a very specific die pair that was only used for a tiny batch of pennies. These are the exact coins that command the eye-watering prices. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Stories like these are why coin collecting isn't just a hobby, it's a modern treasure hunt. Imagine sifting through your old coin rolls and suddenly holding a coin that could change your life. The thrill is indescribable. And for those who know what to look for, the possibilities are endless. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. It isn't just a collectible, it's a piece of history, a tangible connection to a time when mistakes turned ordinary pennies into priceless treasures. Some coins are slightly worn, others almost pristine, but the rarity remains, and with rarity comes the staggering value. Now, let's talk about how you can spot this exact coin. First, check the date. Look for signs of doubling on the 1966 engraving. Not every doubled penny is $1 million coin. The doubling has to be clear, consistent, and match known auction specimens. Second, inspect the maple leaf. The alignment and tiny anomalies in the leaf's engraving are telltale signs of this rare batch. Third, avoid the common mistake of confusing general wear with error indicators. You need to see the minting anomaly, not scratches or circulation damage. Collectors who have done their homework often bring magnifying glasses and even microscopes to examine pennies. It might sound extreme, but when a coin can fetch over $1 million, every detail matters. Imagine discovering the difference between a common 1966 penny worth mere cents and one worth over $1 million. The tension, the suspense, the sudden realization, it's like uncovering buried treasure in your own home. And remember, these coins aren't just rare, they are virtually legendary. Some have appeared in high-profile auctions, fetching jaw-dropping sums. News outlets have chronicled the stories, and every time, the reactions are the same: disbelief, awe, and envy. Collectors dream of these pennies, holding out hope that one day, their ordinary change could hide the extraordinary. It's not about luck alone. Knowledge is power. The right eye, the right know-how, the patience to spot the rare minting anomalies. That's what separates a casual collector from someone who could suddenly become $1 million winner. And for those who are diligent, who inspect their coins carefully, the reward can be life-changing. So, before you toss that old jar of coins into a donation box or a drawer, stop. Examine them. Look for the anomalies that might seem tiny, almost insignificant. Look for the doubling on the 1966 date, inspect the maple leaf alignment, and consider the possibility that hidden among your pocket change is a coin worth more than you ever imagined. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but it sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine a single piece of metal, smaller than your thumbnail, turning ordinary pocket change into a life-changing fortune. That's exactly what happened with the 1998 Canada 1-cent coin. And today, we're about to uncover why collectors are calling it a $1 million miracle. It all started in the late 1990s when Canada was producing billions of pennies. No one paid much attention. After all, a penny was just a penny, right? But behind the mass of ordinary coins, a tiny number of 1998 pennies were minted with a subtle, almost invisible error. These weren't the shiny coins you flip past every day. They were the kind that vanish into drawers, piggy banks, and loose change, unnoticed by the millions of Canadians carrying them around. Collectors first noticed something strange in 2010 when a dealer spotted an unusual 1998 penny in a small estate lot. The coin had a minting anomaly so subtle, so bizarre, that most people would never even see it. But to experts, this tiny imperfection transformed an ordinary cent into a piece of history, a coin worth potentially over $1 million. Dealers were stunned. Collectors were in disbelief. And the word spread like wildfire in the underground coin community. The 1998 penny had become the crown jewel of Canadian numismatics. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A retired schoolteacher in Ontario found a handful of pennies while cleaning out an old drawer. One of them caught his eye, just a glimmer of something unusual. He didn't realize it at first, but that coin would go on to fetch a staggering sum at auction. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Can you imagine holding something in your hand today that could change your life forever tomorrow? What makes this coin so valuable isn't just the year or its copper composition. It's the error. Some of these 1998 pennies were struck with a misaligned die, creating a doubling effect on the date. Others were faintly off-center or had a rare variation in the maple leaf design. Most collectors pass these coins by, not knowing that this tiny flaw is exactly what makes the coin worth its eye-watering price. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it completely. The auction stories are almost unbelievable. One coin sold online for just under $1.3 million. Another appeared in a small regional auction in Canada and sparked a bidding war so intense, the auctioneer later admitted he had never seen anything like it. Collectors from the US, Europe, and Asia were all on the phone, competing, fighting, desperate to claim this treasure. It wasn't just a coin. It was a once-in-a-generation opportunity to own something that could never be replicated. And yet, this is the shocking part. There are still undiscovered 1998 pennies out there. In the back of drawers, in jars, in forgotten pockets. Ordinary people are unknowingly sitting on coins worth more than a house in some cities. Imagine finding this coin while buying coffee or checking out at a grocery store. 1 second, you're paying 99 cents for a soda. The next, you've discovered $1 million miracle in your change. It almost feels like a story from a movie, but this is real life. Here's the thing collectors need to know. Not every 1998 penny is valuable. Many are ordinary, mass-produced coins. To identify a potentially $1 million 1998 penny, you must look carefully at the details. Examine the date closely. Look for doubling, misaligned dies, or unusual markings on the maple leaf. Pay attention to the edges. Sometimes the error is subtle, but a magnifying glass will reveal it. And always check the coin's weight and color. Slight variations can indicate a rare minting batch. Dealers have noted that most mistakes are nearly invisible to the untrained eye, which is why so many are still sitting unnoticed in drawers across North America. Collectors have learned to be relentless. They sift through rolls, skin change, and attend every coin show they can. Patience, vigilance, and an eye for detail are essential. And the payoff? It could literally be $1 million discovery. Imagine the thrill of finding that coin, holding it in your hand, knowing that it could instantly elevate you to millionaire status. It's more than just a coin. It's a life-changing secret hidden in plain sight. And now, the $1 million question: could this coin be in your pocket today? Could the change you dismiss every day be hiding the key to your fortune? Every coin tells a story. Some are forgotten, some are valuable, and some, like the 1998 Canada 1 cent, are priceless. The next time you open a drawer, check your jar of loose change, or sift through coins from a recent trip to Canada, remember this: the treasure you're seeking could be right in front of you, disguised as ordinary metal. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. That tiny copper disc, overlooked for decades, has the power to turn ordinary lives into extraordinary stories. It's waiting quietly for someone to recognize it. Maybe that someone is you. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but today, it could be worth over $1 million. Imagine holding a piece of metal so small, so ordinary, yet hiding a secret that could change your life forever. This isn't just any penny, this is the 2004 Canada 1 cent, and it has collectors across the globe scrambling to find it. It all started with a seemingly minor mistake at the mint. In 2004, a very small batch of pennies was struck with a rare die error, a subtle anomaly so tiny that most people would never notice it. But for the trained eye, for those who know what to look for, this mistake turns an everyday penny into $1 million treasure. One man, a casual collector, stumbled upon this coin while sorting his change. He almost tossed it aside, thinking it was just another 2004 penny. But when he took a closer look under a magnifying glass, his heart stopped. He had found a piece of history, and a fortune hidden in plain sight. Collectors were shocked when news of this discovery leaked. Dealers rushed, auctions buzzed, and suddenly, the value of this humble penny skyrocketed. One auction in Canada saw a single coin sell for an astonishing $1.4 million, leaving everyone who witnessed the sale speechless. But what makes this coin so valuable isn't just its rarity, it's the story, the mystery, the chance that something so ordinary could hold such extraordinary value. Most people overlook it. They pass by their loose change at the grocery store, the laundromat, even on the streets, completely unaware that the very coin in their hand could be worth a small fortune. And yet, this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. It's the subtle misstrike on the maple leaf, the way the die slightly shifted during minting, creating a variation that's nearly impossible to replicate. A collector who knows what to look for can spot it immediately. Everyone else just sees a penny. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. He found his coin in a dusty drawer, forgotten for years. At first, he thought it was a novelty, a quirky error that might fetch $50, maybe $100 at most. But after consulting with top numismatists, he realized the truth. This was no ordinary penny. It was a 2004 Canada 1 cent with a die shift error, a coin that could change a life overnight. But the story doesn't end there. Once collectors realized how rare these coins were, the market exploded. Suddenly, every dealer was on high alert, checking every penny they could get their hands on. One collector reportedly drove across 3 provinces in a single day just to inspect batches of pennies, hoping to find that elusive $1 million piece. The excitement was electric. Each coin discovered made headlines. Each coin sold became part of numismatic legend. The thrill comes from the hunt. Imagine sitting at your kitchen table, sorting through a handful of pennies, and suddenly spotting the subtle difference, a faint shift in the design, an almost invisible irregularity that the untrained eye would never notice. That is the moment when ordinary change transforms into an extraordinary fortune. Dealers and collectors alike know that spotting one of these coins could mean instant recognition, instant wealth, and a place in coin collecting history. The die shift is subtle, but it's unmistakable once you know where to look. Compare your 2004 pennies carefully, examine the maple leaf and the date under a magnifying lens, and look for any slight misalignment or doubling. Even small scratches or wear can obscure it, which is why condition is crucial. Only coins that preserve this rare anomaly in pristine condition can reach the $1 million mark. Common mistakes like assuming every penny with a faint defect is valuable can cost collectors thousands of dollars. Precision is everything. A coin sitting quietly in a drawer for years, overlooked and undervalued, suddenly revealed to be worth a fortune. The moment you identify it, the world opens up. You aren't just holding a penny anymore, you're holding a $1 million secret. Collectors will pay top dollar, dealers will bend over backward, and suddenly, your modest discovery becomes the story everyone is talking about. But even among experts, these coins remain elusive. Only a handful of verified specimens exist, and each one is meticulously documented. Auctions that feature them see bidding wars, intense scrutiny, and offers that leave everyone gasping. And yet, for anyone willing to search carefully, for anyone willing to study the details, the opportunity remains. This isn't just luck. It's knowledge, patience, and a little bit of daring. The magic of this penny lies not only in its rarity but in the story it tells. A minor minting error, a forgotten coin, a collector's keen eye, all combine to create a legend. It's a reminder that treasures are often hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone to notice them, waiting for someone to recognize the value others overlook. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. If you find it, you won't just have a coin. You'll have a ticket to the incredible, thrilling, almost unbelievable world of $1 million discoveries. Every glance, every detail, every careful inspection could uncover the life-changing secret that millions of collectors dream about but only a lucky few ever hold. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but today, it's valued at nearly $1 million. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand, completely ordinary to the eye, yet hiding a secret that could change a life. That's exactly what happened with the 1998 Canada 1 cent coin, a coin so rare, so misunderstood, that collectors around the world are scrambling to find it. And today, you're about to discover why this tiny coin carries a value of up to $1.50 million. The story begins not in a high-end auction house, but in the everyday world of pocket change. One unsuspecting collector found it tucked away in a jar of coins he had ignored for years. To him, it was just another penny. But there was something different. A subtle anomaly that whispered a secret only the sharpest eyes could see. This coin isn't valuable because of gold or silver. It isn't rare because it was made in a limited batch. Its story lies in a production error, a forgotten oversight by the mint in 1998. And while millions of pennies from that year are scattered across Canada and the US, this one stands apart. Only a few exist, coins that slipped past quality control and ended up in circulation by accident. Collectors were shocked when the first ones surfaced in an auction. Dealers had assumed it was another ordinary cent, but experts immediately noticed the error, a tiny misstrike in the design, invisible to most. This flaw, almost microscopic, turns a 1-cent coin into a piece of history worth millions. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. That single discovery ignited a frenzy. Suddenly, dealers were scanning pocket change, collectors were revisiting coin rolls from decades past, and experts were revising price guides to include this once overlooked penny. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Every detail matters. The way the numbers sit on the coin, the subtle doubling of the rim, the faint shadow on the maple leaf. These are the clues that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. Most people never see them. Most people never realize that a coin they toss into a jar could be their ticket to a life-changing fortune. And it's not just about spotting an error. There's a pattern to these $1 million coins. Experts advise collectors to check coins from that year carefully, to compare every ridge and line against verified examples. Even a tiny scratch or wear can make the difference between a coin worth a few cents and one worth more than $1 million. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Private collectors are offering unbelievable sums just to secure one. Stories have emerged of coins changing hands for over $1 million in private sales, each transaction shrouded in secrecy. The excitement isn't just about money, it's about history, rarity, and the thrill of discovery. This coin also teaches a lesson about patience and observation. Many people pass over their change every day, blind to the treasures hidden in plain sight. But the 1998 Canada penny reminds us that fortune favors the observant. Every coin has a story, every detail matters, and the difference between a few cents and $1 million can be a fraction of a millimeter. Collectors who know what to look for can spot this coin immediately. Examine the mint mark closely, compare the fine details of the leaf and numbers, and watch for any anomalies in the strike. This penny's value isn't just in its metal, it's in the story it carries, the rarity it embodies, and the chance that it could be hiding in someone's pocket, drawer, or old coin collection right now. But here's the twist that makes this story almost unbelievable. Some of these coins were unknowingly circulated for years. They passed through the hands of hundreds, maybe thousands, of people unnoticed. Imagine the thrill when a collector realizes that a coin worth over $1 million has been sitting in a dusty jar on a kitchen counter. It's not just about wealth. It's about the thrill of discovery. The 1998 Canada 1-cent coin captures the imagination because it is proof that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places. The coin represents hope, patience, and the sheer unpredictability of the collector's world. And now, it could be in your hands. Look at your coin jar. Examine those pennies carefully. This isn't just advice, it's a challenge, a call to action for anyone who has ever dreamed of finding a life-changing coin. Because unlike stocks, real estate, or other investments, this is tangible, this is history, and this is within reach. Remember, the difference between a standard penny and $1 million coin is subtle. Look for minting errors, study the leaf design, check for doubling, and most importantly, trust your instincts. This coin rewards patience and observation. Collectors who have found one say the feeling is indescribable. The shock, the disbelief, the excitement of realizing that your ordinary change could be worth millions, it's a once-in-a-lifetime moment. And you could experience it too. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Every time you hold it, you're not just holding copper. You're holding history, luck, and the possibility that a simple coin can change your life forever. This coin almost ended up in a recycling bin, but today, it's valued at a staggering $1.6 million. Yes, a simple 2008 Canadian 5-cent piece, overlooked by millions, has shocked collectors and dealers alike. Imagine holding what looks like ordinary pocket change, and realizing it's potentially $1 million treasure. That's exactly what happened to one unsuspecting collector in Toronto, and the story behind it is stranger than fiction. It all begins in 2008, at the Royal Canadian Mint. Amidst the thousands of coins being pressed that year, a tiny error slipped through. A detail so small that most eyes would never notice, yet it turned this nickel into one of the rarest coins in modern history. Experts call it the 2008 Mizstrike 5 cent. But that name hardly captures the drama behind its creation. Here's what makes this coin so remarkable. During production, the nickel experienced a subtle doubling on the 5 in its denomination. The rim, usually perfect and unbroken, shows an almost invisible shift that only magnifying lenses can detect. It's a minting flaw that occurs once in tens of millions, a tiny imperfection that has turned ordinary metal into a $1 million miracle. Collectors were shocked when the first of these coins appeared at auction. Bidders expected it to fetch a few $100s. But the room erupted when it soared past $50,000, then $200,000, and eventually set a jaw-dropping record, $1.6 million. One man's pocket change became the stuff of legend, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After that first auction, dealers started combing through rolls of 2008 nickels like treasure hunters. Banks, coin shops, even casual collectors became obsessed. Every nickel in circulation suddenly had the potential to be the one that could change a life forever. This isn't just about money, it's about rarity, history, and timing. The coin's story is tied to a quiet error in a high-tech mint, a moment that could have been lost to obscurity. A single press, a microscopic misalignment, and suddenly, a coin minted for daily use is now a modern legend. Imagine holding this coin in your hand. It weighs the same, looks almost identical to any other 2008 nickel, yet the value difference is astronomical. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on it, collectors are paying fortunes to secure it, and one simple mistake made by a machine decades ago has created a modern-day treasure hunt. One man discovered his coin tucked inside a box of change he inherited from his grandfather. He didn't even know its significance at first. The 5 looked slightly thicker than usual. The rim had a subtle bump. Curiosity drove him to consult an expert, and in a single moment, his ordinary coin became a $1 million story. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. If you look closely at the numeral 5 on the coin's obverse, you'll see doubling. Not scratches, not wear, an actual doubled impression. Hold it under a light, tilt it at an angle, and the difference becomes unmistakable. Add the slightly off-center rim into the equation, and you've got the exact characteristics that define this coin. Collectors have shared stories of unearthing it from rolls, counting machines, even their own pocket change. Every discovery feels like a scene from a movie: shock, disbelief, joy, and the sudden realization that a fortune could literally be in your hands. It's important to know the common pitfalls when identifying this coin. Many people confuse simple scratches or worn numerals for the doubling. Others dismiss slightly off-center rims as circulation damage. But this coin is precise. The doubling on the 5 is subtle but sharp, and the rim misalignment is consistent. A signature of the mint error, not accidental. What's fascinating is how this coin has altered the market. Dealers who ignored Canadian nickels a decade ago are now fiercely competing to acquire them. Auctions for rolls of 2008 coins routinely include careful inspections for this error. Experts say finding even one coin in pristine condition could land you a full $1 million instantly. The story continues to inspire collectors across North America. People check change with magnifying glasses, meticulously scanning every coin, hoping to be the next lucky owner. Imagine the thrill: a coin in your drawer, in your wallet, or even under your couch cushion, waiting to transform your life overnight. And here's the truth: it could be sitting anywhere. That ordinary nickel you used to pay for coffee could be the one that commands millions at auction. The odds are slim, but the reward? Life-changing. The story of the 2008 Canadian 5-cent Mizstrike reminds us that treasures are often hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to spot them. So, how do you make sure you don't miss it? Look for these exact markers: the doubled 5 on the obverse, the subtle off-center rim, and the sharpness of the error. Avoid coins that are simply worn or scratched; those are false leads. Compare your coin with certified images from trusted sources, and if it matches the known characteristics, it's worth having it appraised immediately. This exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. One coin, a tiny imperfection, and a lifetime of possibility. The 2008 Canadian 5-cent misstrike isn't just change, it's a chance at the extraordinary. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but today it's worth nearly $1.7 million. Imagine holding something so ordinary in your hand, something so tiny, yet it has the power to change a life forever. That's exactly what happened with the 2016 Canada 5-cent coin, a coin that looks like any other nickel, but hides a secret so shocking, collectors are still talking about it today. It all started with a routine shipment from the Royal Canadian Mint. Thousands of coins were struck that year, destined for circulation in pockets, purses, and vending machines. But somewhere in the chaos of production, a rare mistake slipped through. A single coin emerged with a subtle, almost invisible error, a flaw so small most people wouldn't even notice. Yet that tiny detail is what made this coin worth millions. Collectors were the first to spot it. A seasoned coin dealer in Toronto was examining a batch of nickels when one coin caught his eye. At first, he thought it was a standard 5-cent piece. But then he noticed it, a faint doubling of the date, and a strange misalignment in the maple leaf design. His heart raced. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a once-in-a-generation discovery. The news spread like wildfire. Dealers across North America scrambled to get their hands on any 2016 nickels, hoping to find another coin like it. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. He had kept a handful of 2016 nickels for no reason at all, and in that mix was the coin that would shock the entire collecting world. But what happened next stunned everyone. The coin went to auction, and collectors were ready to pay insane amounts. People had no idea this tiny nickel could command such value. The bidding started modestly, but it didn't stay that way. Within minutes, the price soared past $500,000, then $1 million, and eventually it smashed through $1.7 million. Dealers and collectors alike were left speechless. How could a coin minted just a few years ago be worth this much? The answer lies in the details. The 2016 5-cent coin carries a minting error that experts call a die doubling, combined with an off-center strike. To the untrained eye, it looks like an ordinary nickel. But to anyone who knows the signs, this coin is pure gold. It's the kind of error that the Royal Canadian Mint only sees a handful of times per decade, and usually, those coins are lost in circulation, never to be found again. Collectors who have seen it in person describe the sensation as surreal. Running your fingers over the coin, you can feel the faint bump of the misprinted date, the subtle shift in the maple leaf. Every angle reveals a new secret. It's almost like holding a piece of history in your hand, a secret that the mint never intended for anyone to see. One man, a casual coin collector from Ohio, discovered a similar coin in his spare change while buying groceries. He didn't believe it at first. "I thought it was a mistake," he later said. "I kept it in my drawer for months. Then I took it to a dealer, and my life changed forever." That single nickel, sitting unnoticed in his wallet, was now $1 million coin. Dealers are still on high alert. Any batch of 2016 5-cent coins can hide the next discovery. One tiny misaligned leaf, one double number, and you could be holding the next record-breaking coin. Experts warn that most people overlook the subtle errors that make these coins so valuable. A common mistake is assuming that circulation wear destroys the value. In reality, these coins can fetch millions even with minor wear, if the error is right. But how can you spot this coin? First, look closely at the date. You're looking for slight doubling or shadows in the numbers, something almost imperceptible. Then examine the maple leaf. Any shift, any unusual raised edge, is a red flag. Compare your coin to an untouched, normal 2016 nickel. The differences are subtle, but they are everything. A single glance could reveal a fortune hiding in your pocket. Even seasoned collectors are stunned by how quickly this coin has risen in value. Some bought multiple rolls of 2016 nickels hoping to find just one, and a few lucky souls have walked away with unimaginable wealth. Others missed their chance. The coin was gone before they could react. It's a reminder that fortune often favors the patient, but sometimes it rewards the lucky beyond imagination. This coin isn't just about money. It's about the thrill of discovery. The idea that something ordinary, something you pass by every day, could hold a secret worth millions is what drives collectors to search endlessly. Every vending machine, every jar of pennies, every forgotten roll could hide the next life-changing find. And now, for the most important part, if you think you might have this coin, handle it with care. Don't clean it, don't polish it, don't risk damaging the details that make it worth millions. Take high-resolution photos, compare it to verified examples online, and consult a reputable coin grading service. The smallest detail could be the difference between a coin worth $5 and one worth over $1 million. This is your moment to imagine holding that coin, feeling its weight, examining its unique imperfections, knowing that in your hands lies a piece of history. This exact nickel could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1.7 million.